All right. What up, perps? So I am trying to find the video for here one this morning from Tennessee. Picking through stuff. See, I don't even see. These folks are doing something screwy this morning because it says this criminal justice subcommittee is supposed to be in here in room one, but they've got a House Business and Utilities subcommittee there. But this is supposed to start at 9 o'clock, and it's on the calendar. If I click on that, I can bring it over to the agenda. And it's showing it's supposed to be 9 a.m. Now, let's see something. Okay, that's what it is. I forget. They're an hour behind me. So now we're just kind of hanging. There are a couple other things I want to look at. Anyway, Tennessee's supposed to try to unscrew some stuff for their constitutional carry this morning. And I forget I'm right on the edge of Eastern time zone. So everything where I'm at is right on the edge of Eastern, and they're actually Central. So they're an hour behind, which is cool. That'll give me a little bit of time to goof off and take care of some stuff. And I tell you what, let me drop. Man, what's up, brother? Let me drop Bishop's channel in the chat. That's basically what I'm listening to right now while I was trying to dig up all this other stuff. Do, do, do. Okay. So anyway, Bishop's still going right now. For you guys that don't know, he's got a morning show that he does pretty much every morning, starting anywhere from about 8:30 to 9 o'clock, somewhere around there, depending on what his morning's looking like. Based in Illinois, covers a lot of stuff in Illinois. Great dude. Um, right now, well, for me, we're going to start out looking at some stuff out of Tennessee. Um, Oh, it is rather hard, guys. Give me a sec. Let me disappear off camera for a sec. I got to find my other damn hard drive. Da-da-da. Now, I got to see. Um, I got to check some stuff with the Illinois legislature too. Um, here it is. Now I know freaking Delaware is doing some stuff with ghost guns. I think they passed their stuff. It's back and forth right now, guys. Let me see. I'm gonna have to open up. a couple of different documents. Let me turn my camera back on that way. See what's up. Good morning, folks. So I'm an idiot and I forgot. Damn, Tennessee is an hour behind us, so um, their judiciary committee isn't going to start till actually 10 o'clock my time. So let me see. I was trying to find. I was looking at some stuff last night before we got off stream. There were a couple bills that I've got to edit the text on so we can really see what these bills will accomplish. Federal bills, actually. And there was, oh God, man, I need to write a script for myself some days. There was something else I was going to check out. And I can't remember what it was now. Why? Because Coop has brain farts. And apparently big ones some days. So we're going to sit around and drink coffee for a little bit. And I'll tell you what. Agorizer, what's up, my brother? Yeah, I'm still on my first cup too, Ag. Matter of fact, I gotta make me another one here in just a minute. Let's while we're waiting on Tennessee to get going, let me do this. I'm gonna drop a link in the chat and kind of open her up. And then we shoot the breeze. I am gonna see about opening up these couple of federal bills and actually editing or getting them put into the text of the law while we're waiting. Something I was gonna do this morning anyway. And we'll see how exactly these things are going to work. So anybody wants to jump in, man, you're more than welcome to jump in. We're just going to shoot the breeze until Tennessee gets rolling. And I tell you what, let me share a tab. This one. So Guns and Gadgets posted about this last night. The hearing I watched today. Let me take a look over at the Firearms Policy Coalition. Let's see what they're posting this morning. All right, so it's been in the chat. That's one thing we talked about last night was the Vanderstock case. There's Sam. What's up, Sam? What's up, my brother?
Good morning, Coop. How you doing?
Shit, same as, man. Same as.
I hear that.
Get my brain unscrewed this morning.
Yeah, same here. I'm still on my first cup of coffee.
Yeah, like I said, I'm fixing to make another one here in just a minute.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. Oh, man. Don't buy Black & Decker electric weed whackers. They suck.
Oh, yeah. I can see that. You know, years ago, they actually used to be pretty damn good. And then that whole brand went downhill.
Yeah, it did. I don't know. I got this electric thing, but I think I know why the person who gave it away now. Because every fucking 3 seconds, the line will try to self-feed for some reason. Then it ends up feeding one side longer than the other, which breaks off at the head, leaving one long-ass strand. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass.
Oh, man. It is.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm decided to shift my focus here a little bit. I can.
So it looks like just picking through some of the stuff that Firearms Policy Coalition's posting this morning, or what they posted later last night. I try to pay attention to those guys because they've got, of course, their websites for the legal side and websites for different parts of the litigation. So I try to keep up with them because they're a good resource to look at this stuff, and they really are putting in work. You in for some rain today, Ag? So far today down here looks like it's going to be freaking beautiful. It's chilly this morning compared to what it has been.
Nah, not my style. I mean, it's kind of chilly up here too. It's not really it's really sunny up here right now. I guess we're supposed to get rain later today.
It's sunny down here, but it's probably it's sunny down here. But it's probably 60 degrees out this morning. It's nice.
Yeah, we probably got, I don't know, it's probably around 40 here right now. We're probably gonna hit 60 by 10 o'clock, so I think we'll be okay. It's really windy here.
Man, by the time this afternoon rolls around, I got no doubt we'll probably be in the high 70s, getting into the 80s.
Yeah. Well, where I'm at, when you go downtown, you're literally going downtown. It's you're moving downhill, and we're at such a high elevation that whenever you go downhill around here, you will have a very, very, very noticeable pop in your ears from the change in elevation.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah. So we're hilltop folk, and it gets windy as a mother around here. Actually, part of the roof for my shop got ripped off this winter. Big slab of sheet metal got torn right off the roof of my the camper I use as my shop.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I got to fix that. I got water damage right under it now, so, and unfortunately the section that got ripped off was white, so nobody noticed it all winter long. I sure as shit didn't. Oh man.
Let's see. Look, where was this other bill at that I was going to look at?
That posting you just scrolled by talking about the 6 guns, the suppressors, and the ammo. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is constitutionally protected.
It is. But man, I'd have to read the article, see what all this is.
Yeah.
What all this is getting into. It's in Connecticut, so their freaking gun laws are screwed in a lot of cases too.
Gun laws everywhere are screwed, man. You know, I gotta say, to those guys out there who think that, oh, well, you know, I gotta pay my tax stamp or the ATF will come and take me to jail and all that, right? Every single one of those things is unconstitutional, and thereby it's supposed to be unenforceable. If we would just stop sitting by quietly while our neighbors are hauled off for doing nothing but exercising their rights to the fullest extent and doing so without government permission, that's not a crime. That's not wrong. You know what I mean? We need to start standing up.
It's not. Well, this is the thing, man. The federal government's at a point where they can bring so much freaking force against everybody that you know, as much as we don't want to freaking have to deal with this shit, we kind of have to right now to play. We got to play that game. You know, I don't have any NFA items, don't have any tax stamps. I wouldn't mind having a couple of suppressors, but I really don't want to have to play that game with the NFA and pay them their $200 bribe just so I can stay out of prison for having something that attaches to a firearm. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Which, I mean, they knew it was ridiculous when they were in the hearings for the 1934 NFA. They knew it was horseshit.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it was like that.
You know, it's the world we live in.
My honest opinion, I think suppressors be taken off the NFA to begin with, because, I mean, hell, hey, shooting off a loud decibel in your ears is enough damage to do your hearing damage.
No, man, the NFA itself shouldn't even exist, much less have to damn, worry about whether, if I stick this grip on this gun, if it's configured this way, all of a sudden that becomes an NFA item and 10 years in prison.
Well, no, the justification, they claim that, mafias use fucking suppressors. I mean, when's the last time you ever see some criminal organization use a fucking suppressor?
Dude, it's the only time I can remember offhand where a suppressor was used in any sort of crime. I think it was in Maryland, and it was a mass shooting where a dude went through and killed a bunch of his coworkers. But even, and that's been a couple years ago, but even with the suppressor, the people that were talking about, the shooting, what happened, they were on the floors above him and they could still hear it. So, and we all know suppressors, it's not John Wick, where, I can be walking through a train station or whatever and shooting it out with somebody and everybody else just doesn't notice.
There's still a whip of the sound barrier.
Yeah,
if you want to get, a lot of people don't understand. You have two different types of noises that come from a firearm. The first noise is the most obvious. It's the operation of the firearm itself, the metal components scraping and slapping together as the action and the inner workings of it move. The second is what's called, or what I call, the ballistic crack. Well, technically there's three. There's the muzzle blast, which is the initial explosion sound of the firearm going off. Then there's the ballistic crack, which is the sound of the projectile breaking the sound barrier. A lot of people don't realize to get a suppressor to be any quieter than it is with standard ammo, you have to buy what's called subsonic ammunition. And even then, it's not just, you still have the sound of the firearm working. A suppressor doesn't automatically make the slide of a pistol not make a bunch of sound. That's steel and polymer components slapping together. It's a controlled explosion. A firearm suppressor works on the same technological principle as a car muffler. That's it. These things aren't magical devices that make guns go poof and you can be shooting, fucking Hollywood, man.
I mean, like you said, you can just go get like an oil filter at a local auto shop store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of it. And it would be very easy to make the adapter where you could screw an oil filter right on the end of any threaded barrel.
Yeah, but
extremely simple.
But they sell adapters. They sell them.
Yep.
You can find adapters.
If you do it though, it's a 10-year felony right there.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's 10 years in prison. Which, hell, I'll bring it up here, man. The dude up in New York, he's looking at 18 years because he built 10 guns.
Wait, that was because of the 80% ban they had over there, right? Correct?
Yep. The dude's no criminal history, no nothing, never been in any kind of real legal trouble, nothing like that.
And
looking at fucking 18 years in prison.
No, he's more royally screwed because he's in within New York city limits.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, though. It shouldn't matter. Here's what should matter. Is he committing crimes now, right? And this just goes to show the fact that y'all, like normies out there, are okay with some guy being hauled off because he's got a shotgun or a pistol in his house and, oh my God, he was a felon. Well, dude, what's he doing with it? I mean, is he shooting at people? Is he robbing people? Or is he just some guy who's trying to get a shit straight? Right? But now they're coming after the people who haven't even got a record. They want you to be criminals because
that's where it's been going.
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing. The reason they want to make everybody criminals is because everybody has already implied that you have such authority over the rights of the people Big Daddy government, that you can decide who does and does get rights based on legal definitions that you yourself have total and complete control over. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, that's shit we talk about constantly.
And don't forget,
It's-
this judge here, by the way, mind you. This don't forget. He also said the Second Amendment has no bearing in this court.
Yes.
Jesus fuck, what?
That's what she said. She said the Second Amendment has no bearing to be in this court.
That's immediate grounds for dismissal. Right there.
She doesn't give a shit. It's New York City, man.
Oh my fucking
liberal shithole city of New York.
Yeah, there was what part of what that was is, and it's the games these cocksuckers play, is Dexter didn't try to get his any kind of firearms license in New York because he knew it was useless. It's one of the reasons he was building his own guns. He's just a tinkerer, man. Well, the judge in one part told him, since you didn't even try to get the permit, you can't argue the Second Amendment. It is mind-blowing to me, and that judge should be nowhere near a court, on a bench, public office, not a fucking dog catcher.
For real.
Then they flat out told him, no, you can't argue the Second Amendment. You can't argue your own constitutional rights in a court of law that's supposed to be based on the Constitution. Huh? Our legal system is so fucked, it ain't even funny. But yeah, they're going to send this dude to jail. Now, meanwhile, they'll take all these illegal aliens and people who have attacked others and stabbed others and all this other shit and let them go in a day. And then they're just out on bond for 2 years or so, just walking around. And then they'll go back to court, get caught on something else. Then they'll let him right back out. But no, this guy had ghost guns. So we got to put him in jail for fucking 18 years.
Not alone that this whole pro-Palestine movement, man, it's getting out of control. And the fucking president's just letting it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I'm telling you, man. These guys do not care if this country burns down. As long as they get to rule over the ashes, they don't care. As long as they still hold their positions, as long as they can still wheel and deal the power, as long as they can still, catch their money and all their kickbacks on stuff, they don't care what happens to this country at all. They don't care what happens to normal citizens. Nothing. None of that shit matters to them. This dude right here, man. The New York Constitution has never given the state the power to regulate arms, period. But they did it all the way back into the 30s or 20s from the Sullivan Law. That should have never withstood a court challenge.
What was it? The Sullivan Law?
Yeah, it was the Sullivan Law.
What was that? What law is that exactly? What is that state?
The Sullivan Law was the one that basically gave New York the authority to regulate any sort of arms, go through the permitting process, the whole good moral character thing, all that bullshit.
Was that within the limits, or that was the whole entire state?
I believe I'd have to look at it. I can't remember exactly whether that was a whole state or just New York City. I can't remember.
Because the city also has its own law there, too.
Yeah. I'm thinking that might have just been New York City.
And this is right after Prohibition. 1930s, right?
I think the Sullivan Act is the Sullivan Act or Sullivan Law. Hold on, let me hit the old Google machine real fast.
Because I bet this is right after Prohibition. I mean, we think Chicago's got some weird fucked up laws. New York has got even worse ones.
New York Sullivan Act, okay. Damn, that went into effect earlier than I thought. This says it took effect in 1911.
1911?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Now this is Wikifuckia, so this is just a quick reference. I'd have to go back. I'd have to go in and check all their sources. New York state law requiring license for New Yorkers to possess firearms. So this was state law. Oh. Firearms small enough to be concealed. So this was, basically about concealed firearms.
Wait, concealed firearms. So this was when they were getting those European handgun imports. That's why.
This was, I mean, you're looking at anything from a revolver to an actual 1911 to a
Or a
Brown high
Walther.
power.
A Walther.
Yeah, Walthers, you name it. So mainly this just looks like, and I'd have to read up on it. I know, matter of fact, the guy for the NRA, the one who was the head of the NRA in 34, I believe was actually involved in writing the Sullivan Law. Because he mentioned that in the hearings for the 34 NFA when he said, you know, he wasn't all for this anybody carrying firearms deal.
Why is it always with some affiliation with some guy from the NRA always doing this shit?
Dude, man, it's the NRA has been fucking us forever.
Because it's a shell corporation for the government. Duh.
No, it's not just that. I think they're just doing it for monopoly, make money off it.
Yeah, that too.
Hold on, is this it?
This is why I never put my money anymore into the NRA bucket. I'm done with those fuckers.
Well, man, I watched them even before I was really, really into constitutional rights and stuff like that. I watched the NFA just completely throw us under the bus anytime something came up as far as gun control. Even back in the 80s, when I was really, really young, you know, I remember hearing about the NRA and all of their dealings with these freaking morons in Congress.
What really got it though was the fucking New Orleans Hurricane Katrina incident.
Let's see. Hell, I'll pull up a picture of the dude.
So is this him?
Oh,
or is his relative also arrested? One of his relatives?
I forget, man. Talking about Dexter?
Yeah, the guy that got arrested in New York.
As far as I know, I think it was just Dexter. And the way they tracked it through when they started getting information from like Polymer 80 and other places that were selling parts kits and stuff like that. That's how they got his information.
So wait, was he buying stuff across state lines and commerce to actually ship to New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they tracked him.
Let me see. Now let me do this real fast. Where am I at? I'm somewhere. I swear to God I am. It's definitely one of those mornings. Matt, what's up, my brother? Let me do this. Let's do another screen share. I'll share window. Or am I going to have to share my entire screen to do this? Might have to share my entire screen, but I'll show you guys. Where's that? Come on, I just had it. Here it is. So these were the hearing notes from, or the transcript from the House hearing for the 34 NFA. And I went through, I kind of did more research. I found pictures of a lot of these guys. Attorney General Cummings was the one who was pushing the 34 NFA.
Attorney General Cummings?
Yep. And of course, I mean, he was doing it for the president.
That's a really bad name for
yeah.
General.
He was coming all over things, let me tell you. Where is...
Was you by chance related to Elijah Cummings?
No.
That's another bad.
I highly doubt that. Let me see. This was one of the dudes that was kind of speaking on behalf of the NRA, General Reckford.
Yeah.
Let's see. Why are you freaking bouncing like that? Damn it.
It's not really when you scroll up.
Let's see. Reed, where is he?
Mr. Woodruff.
And a couple of these guys, man, they'd make you damn sick listening to them or reading their testimony. What's this dude's freaking picture? I know he's on here. I probably passed him somewhere.
This is why they were monopolizing all this stuff, making money for themselves and also ruining other people's lives.
It's mentioned in these hearings that this dumbass 34 NFA wouldn't do anything but take a bunch of innocent people and turn them into criminals. And that's exactly what it did. Matter of fact, one of the best guys, believe it or not, in this hearing.
Yeah, Prohibition didn't do shit. The NFA and the GCA didn't do shit. All it did was just put people on the crossfire and got them arrested.
Oh, man, that's all it did.
Think Al Capone gave two shits about gun laws?
Any of you guys familiar with engines at all?
Depends on the day.
Oh, well, how about something like this? Hold on, see if I.
Oh, he's kicking himself off.
See if I can make this. I can't remember this dude's freaking name offhand, or I'd just do a quick search.
You know his photo, though?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember his damn. I need to do another show on on this hearing. I couldn't find the damn Senate hearing. I could find the House, but I couldn't find good notes on the Senate hearing.
Yeah.
That's where they're arguing about or asking about barrel lengths and stuff. 16 inches or 18 inches. This guy, Mr. Vinson right here, this guy actually, I think he ended up on the Supreme Court. I'd have to look him up again, but he was a big Democrat. But he was the only one in here that was really asking any questions that were halfway worth of shit, which was amazing.
And this is like, was he an average blue-collar Democrat? Like, moderates?
Today he would probably be a fucking Republican. Back then, yeah, he was definitely kind of sounded like a more moderate dude.
Like he had no political bias. He just wanted the answers, right?
Yeah, this is what it sounded like in his hearing, because he was actually asking some really good questions. Like, as to those weapons owned, is it not the taxation power which provides a basis for requiring the registration of firearms now owned and possessed? So he's asking about, and he knew it, and he'd asked him some other questions in here, basically saying, the government has no power to do this, and that's why we're using taxing power.
Well, what was it? You remember you were covering I forget what law it was. It was about the international commerce.
Well, this is all based on the Commerce Clause itself. That's where one of the things they used is the Commerce Clause and the taxing power of the government.
Is there a way?
That's why if you look in criminal code, the NFA is not in criminal code; it's in tax code.
Is there a way to eliminate the Commerce Clause, or not really? Theoretically,
dude, that would seriously take a constitutional amendment, I think, to get rid of the Commerce Clause itself.
So it's just an open hole that's in the fabric. Pretty much, they found it and they used it against us.
Yeah. Oh, they completely bastardized it. One of the original cases, because you're talking about kind of Depression era. You're talking about the New Deal and all this other shit the president was trying to push through at the time. And he was threatening to pack the court because they kept shutting him down on stuff. They were like, no, you can't do that. It's not constitutional. And he was threatening them back then to pack the court. And they wanted all guns registered. They were especially going after pistols. And then the fucking suppressors barely even get mentioned, but they got thrown in there. I think the Senate might have been the ones who threw suppressors in. They wanted you fingerprinted if you went to buy a firearm.
They had fingerprint technology back then?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically just ink on your fingers and rubbed on a sheet and then assessed underneath a magnifying glass.
How many documents back then been collecting on like bookloads on a shelf?
Oh God, man, it would have been insane.
Yeah, but here's the thing: how are you going to keep record of those if it catch on fire? I mean, just because you have a document or don't have a document does not guarantee you're going to be, safe under the law. Then
this wasn't the dude, was it?
Especially this time period.
Let me see. This was the text. Matter of fact, this was the second day of the hearing, I think. Second or third day. I'm all the way down that far in this shit.
Ugh. By the way, did you see Todd's video last night?
No, man, I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, he was just giving an update about the Supreme Court getting a hearing on the 80% frames and receiver rule.
I gotta watch that today. That guy's name's Cooper. No relation. That guy was an asshole.
Mr. Cooper?
Yep. No relation that I know of.
Doesn't even look like a Cooper. General Rickford. Never heard of this guy.
Yeah, he was one of the ones from the NRA.
Was he a general in the Army?
He was I think pretty similar to what we would call like the head of the National Guard today. And I'd have to look and see what his active military service looks like. I didn't get that far into it. But this was him testifying about, the 34 NFA. We believe the machine gun, submachine gun, sawed-off shotguns, and dangerous and deadly weapons could all be included in any kind of bill, no matter how drastic. We will support it. If you will give us an opportunity to sit down and discuss the matter, we believe we can. Okay, hold on. I believe this legislation. Yeah, and I mean, he does get into some of this. And this is his recorded testimony. We believe this is bad legislation and it is unnecessary, burdensome on honest citizens, and that it will no more reach the crook than any legislation heretofore.
I mean, the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. I mean, they're expecting that the change of legislation to go after these criminals that didn't do shit.
No, man, you got to figure when this shit was passed, the only people that could afford machine guns were the actual criminals. And it's not like they had to go through a bunch of hoops. They could order the shit through the fucking Sears catalog.
No, and Coop, not just that. I mean, talk about the machine guns. The fucking mafias would buy into fucking police departments left and right. Hell, it wouldn't surprise me if we've got National Guard too under their boots.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was freaking... Let me see. I forget how long this was because this was a couple days of hearings.
I mean, there's no record of that, by the way, was there?
What?
Of a mafia actually controlling the National Guard.
I don't think there's any of them actually controlling the National Guard, but it wouldn't freaking surprise me. I mean, it honestly wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yep, neither would I.
Let's see if
Holy
they were
shit.
getting some of the money they were making off of it.
That's a lot of money right there. Damn.
Mr. Fear.
And that was all paper back then.
Yep.
There was no digital system back then to actually collect money. That was all paper.
No, you paid when you went and bought the firearm, you paid the ad valorem tax right then.
Could you imagine the money back then, how different it looked back then?
See, Attorney General Cummings right here getting to run through all this shit.
I think Sam's trying to get in here.
Hey, Sam.
Oh, hey, Coop.
Let's see. Let me pull this thing back up. Let's see. What do you say? We're confronted, gentlemen, with a very serious problem. And if the committee, as our distinguished friend suggests, could devise a way of dealing with these amendments, these bulletproof vests. So he's getting into bulletproof vests. There are various types of them that could be basically. They wanted to put a prohibition on any kind of bulletproof vest back then, which is funny thinking about bulletproof vest in 34.
You know, it's the first bulletproof vest. It was a plate of armor of metal. That's all it was. Like the old Clint Eastwood movie where he takes off a piece of metal off a cart and puts it on his body.
Trying to see.
Just looking at some of these guys, man, look pretty bad looking.
Oh man, some of these guys, which Attorney General Cummings and some of these absolute leftists on here, and some of the so-called Republicans on this committee were just as bad as any Democrat today, judging by their testimony.
What's this, complete sellouts?
Yeah, no idea about firearms whatsoever. Definitely no idea about the Second Amendment or constitutional rights. Just trying to see.
Well, most people today don't understand how rights work.
No, not at all. It's amazing to me that.
Sorry, Coop, go ahead.
I was going to say it's amazing to me that people can walk around with a fucking supercomputer in their pocket and can't do basic research.
And
or
the fact
still
that
to be ignorant.
Oh, and then the fact also we're buying so much shit from other foreign countries are actually ruining their societies in the process.
Where is it?
Mr. Woodruff, never heard of this guy.
Yeah, you'd have to go back and do about the same thing I did and look each one of these guys up damn individually in these hearings. And God, I don't know how many hours of research I got in this one freaking document.
How many document pieces are there in this thing? 200 pages?
I'd have to look at the number of damn pages in this document. I can't even freaking remember. Because I basically just took all the hearing notes and then went in, did a little bit of research on all the players. One of the guys in here who was pretty prominent in the hearing later was one of the first so-called progressives that I heard mentioned in Congress.
I hate to be the person typing all this information with your fingers. Where they are, what, teleprompters?
Oh God, stenographers.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Stenographers. Yeah.
Stenographers. Mind you, this is also the time the machines were ink, where you had a paper and you roll it up and all that.
Oh yeah, it's
They would have to pay good money to do that. Just to record all this shit they're writing and hearing.
See, I was trying to find where basically the first appearance of the guys from the NRA were. Because they got pretty pissed when the dudes from the NRA showed up because they didn't think they knew about the hearing. Someone in Congress had tipped off the guys from the NRA because the House didn't expect anybody to show up and testify basically against the 34 NFA. And yeah, guys, we're just kind of killing time till Tennessee starts. So give me a sec and we'll find something.
Well, what was first? Wasn't the Brady bill? Didn't that come first?
No, the Brady bill didn't come around until the 80s.
So wait, let me get this right. It was the NFA, the GCA, then it was Brady.
Well, you had the NFA in 34. Then I think in 35 or 38, there was kind of a revision to the NFA. The GCA, or the 68 Gun Control Act, I thought. And that's where whole serialization came in and a bunch of other shit. No more basically being able to order guns, no more being able to purchase pistols across state lines.
Because the GCA, last night I checked, that was because of Robert Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah, well, that's what they used.
Well, you used to be able to order suppressors from the back of like a catalog. Was it? Roosevelt was well known, I think it was, for using Maxim suppressors on Safari.
Yeah. Suppressors, mufflers, whatever you wanted. A lot of times they were called mufflers back then. I think they were actually, some of them were patented under as a firearms muffler. But yeah, it was no big deal until these guys get it in their damn head. And like I said, I think it might have been the Senate that actually added it in, but they get a bug in their ass about it. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, man, if you get a suppressor, that's $200 tax. And by the way, if you have one and don't pay us our extortion fee, well, you get to go to prison for 5 years.
Right. Well, it works on the same basic technological principle as a car muffler.
Yeah.
All it is a baffled sound suppression tube.
It's all it is. Let's see. I definitely got to put together another show on this hearing, though, just because it's been a long time since I've done it. Come on, damn it. Where's it at?
I hear your old birdies in the background there.
Oh, yeah, we got all sorts of tweets hanging out right now. I said it's just a pretty day out.
Yeah, it's real nice out here today, too.
Just hope you don't have morning doves. Those things are fucking nasty looking.
That shit, man, we got about everything out there, man. I remember I live in the country.
Have you heard of a dove, by the way? Morning dove?
Yeah.
Yeah, they coo and it sounds like an owl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, we got also, well, I mean, you got a couple different species of dove, but yeah, we got quite a few out here.
Yeah, morning doves, they coo like this.
Oh, those things. I've heard those before.
Yeah, it sounds
yeah,
like
you've probably heard a dove before.
I know what those are, yeah.
How far down do I have to go in this damn thing? Again, guys, we're just killing a little bit of time before Tennessee starts. Let me do something. Mr. Dick, you son. Oh, this was I think these were some of the homicide numbers. Hold on. This may have been when NRA initially showed up. He was the Adjutant General of Maryland, an executive officer of the National Rifle Association. This was at the start of his testimony. There's one part I was trying to find because it seemed like they got pretty damn pissy with him. He was executive officer, vice president of the National Rifle Association. And they asking some of the stupid questions. If he was appearing in his official capacity or whether he was appearing as his capacity for the NRA.
Not real Americans. No, the NRA was around before any other 2A organization, correct?
Yeah, they started out before the Civil War, right after the Civil War, something like that.
Yep, and I believe the reason why the NRA became more of a thing was because, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, don't quote me, but I think it was because the southern states were restricting the rights of the black folk down there. Because there's a lot of black people that were in support of the NRA to get their rights back.
They did a lot of stuff back then. One of their main goals was simply to teach Americans, especially American men, how to shoot, because they figured out that the Americans' ability to actually fire a firearm accurately was kind of sucking.
Well, whatever they were founded for, that's not the purpose they serve anymore. That's for sure.
Well, they fell away from that goal and became a purely political animal for a long time.
Yeah.
They keep going back and forth with this dude. Are you appearing as the Attorney General? Da, 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 da. No, motherfucker, I'm appearing for the NRA, you dickhead.
Vast majority of what the government does today is just atrocious.
Man, it's our government's been doing atrocious shit for fucking. Well, basically ever since they got rolling, but they've definitely stepped their game up in about the last 100 years.
No doubts. Well, I mean, the founding fathers themselves, a lot of them kind of just decided to wipe their ass with the Constitution not too long after they finished with it.
Oh yeah, there were plenty of situations. Hell, George Washington, when he got into stuff like the Whiskey Rebellion and stuff like that, where they completely went against the principles that they laid out constitutionally.
Yes, sir.
It was they were great principles laid out in our Constitution, but when they were allowed to absolutely shatter it, I mean, before the fucking ink was dry, that kind of foreshadowed what would continue to happen.
Yep. Basically,
let me kill that. I'll find something.
Decided to wipe their ass with it.
Let me see if Tennessee's got their stuff up.
Yep, before the ink was dry.
It's man, and it's it's human nature. Anytime you give a bunch of people power, that okay. So Justice Committee's up now, so they should start the hearing in just a little bit. I mean, it's not like the abuse of power is anything new in the history of man.
Well, every single government
It's like,
throughout human history goes corrupt.
oh yeah, that's why the hold on, what are you saying, Warsaw?
I just recognized Sam Fisher. Where did I hear that name from? That's a character.
Splinter Cell.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Say the main character of the Splinter Cell series.
Yep, he's a former Navy SEAL and he works for Third Echelon.
Yep.
I remember playing Splinter Cell way back in the day.
Oh yeah, my favorite Splinter Cell game is Blacklist.
That's a good one. I also like the other one where where was that? Where he was looking for his daughter.
Oh, Conviction.
Conviction, yeah.
Yeah, your name. There was a lot of stuff that happened like that. Basically going around the war powers and stuff like that. It was, we tend to try to think about things back then out of today's kind of rationality and morals. That's why people jumping up and down about slavery back then. Well, slavery was the norm for basically the entire history of man.
Actually, just saying that, Coop, it actually has become the norm now, sadly.
Well, yeah, it's not like it's gone anywhere. I mean,
no, but I'm saying
you have more people today that are against it than are for it, but we still have the biggest. Well, yeah, in some cases, no, they ain't giving a damn about it.
No, that's what I'm saying, and it's human trafficking.
Well, Lincoln screwed us on a lot of things.
Well, they just expanded.
When you had states that wanted, when you had states that wanted to secede, and remember, we're supposed to be governed basically at the permission of the governed and all that. When you had states that wanted to secede, and Lincoln set the Constitution on fire and ended up getting millions of people killed, that was basically the death of it. It honestly was back then. Because believe it or not, if these so-called slave states, which there were slave states in the North too, but if they had stepped away and drawn up treaties to be able to peacefully deal with each other, slavery would have been on its way out within probably 50 years just because technological advancements. And then you wouldn't have the South burned to the damn ground, and we still wouldn't be kind of dealing with, because you got to figure, like pre-clearance, that wasn't shot down till a couple of years ago. So anytime a southern state wanted to change something with voting laws or something like that, they had to get approved by the federal government. And there were a bunch of things like that. You wouldn't have the country basically burnt to the ground. If states were allowed to secede, they more than likely, I believe, would have rejoined the Union later. And then everybody would have been in a lot better position.
Yeah. I mean, slavery, it wasn't just black, Scoop. I mean, we had Native American slaves too.
Oh, well, yeah. Native Americans had slaves of their own. Native Americans had black slaves, white slaves, and their slavery didn't end until much later.
Yep.
Yeah.
But here's something that you never are really asked in school or taught about when it came to the Civil War. So at the end of the Civil War, why were these Southern generals, the Southern president, why were they never tried for treason or anything like that?
They pardoned them.
They pardoned them, but why? Why not? I mean, they just went through a war. Why not go ahead and try them? If they had went to the courts, if it had actually went to the courts and went based on the Constitution on what they did, I guarantee you their actions would have been found to be constitutional. The separation.
You're saying it
That's
was
why they were
legally
never
binding
tried
by the Constitution?
I'm saying that under the Constitution, they had the authority to separate from the Union.
Well,
If it's governed by the consent of the governed, they had every right to bow out and say, no, we're done.
Now, when it came to slavery, was it the state's constitutions that allowed it to legalize it?
I don't think there was anything in the federal constitution that would have outlawed slavery up to that point. And the state constitution certainly didn't have any kind of, prohibitions on slavery. But again, slavery was the norm through the entire history of man. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying it wasn't like it was America's, it was just America who was doing this. It was the entire history of man. There's not a race on this planet or a tribe on this planet that hasn't been a slave or owned a slave at some point.
I don't know. I'm just asking because I don't know about the laws of the Confederacy or the Southern states. That's why I wonder if there was something that was in their confines or something.
I think the Southern states, and I'd have to go back. If you wanted to listen to a guy who really knows what he's talking about on this, hold on. Should be able to find his channel pretty quick. I'll throw his channel up. And he's an actual historian. And he's got, I don't know how many different books he's written on the founders, on how, different founders. I think he has one book that's talking about the founders and how they screwed up the country. And lays it out with Washington and a bunch of other stuff that went on. But there was no doubt that the Southern states were trying to cement slavery, and there was no doubt that there were some states that were against it, some people, abolitionists, that were against it. But when it came to like the war being over slavery, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with the government maintaining control over the federal government maintaining control over the states. Lincoln, I'd have to look up some of his stuff, but he'd said it very early. If he could have stopped these states from seceding and never freed a single slave, he would have done it. Slavery did become the cause celeb until much later. And we're always taught, well, it happened over slavery. No, it didn't. It had jack shit to do with it.
It had a lot of things to do with politics and economics.
Oh, there was definitely a lot of economics in it.
Because slave business was all slave
northern
operated.
states. Yeah, the northern states didn't want to lose their production from the South. And yeah, Matt said there was no law against it or allowing it. Yeah, it just was what it was. Matter of fact, Lincoln, when they were going through some of the stuff, he was more than willing to allow the southern states to actually keep slavery legal. It just couldn't expand into the territories. So it couldn't be expanded. It could have stayed legal, but it just couldn't expand. That was one of the arguments back then too. Yeah, Bob. Yeah, that's right. It had jack shit to do with slavery. But much like it is now, they find a good propaganda point, and that's what they push. And that became the propaganda point. But yeah, if you guys want to listen to a really good historian on a lot of this, Brian McClanahan, I'll learn to talk one of these damn days, is excellent. He teaches at the college, has written multiple books. If you see him, he'll talk about, the 10th Amendment Center sometimes, and basically trying to get politics back to a local level. I mean, he's a seriously solid dude. He's definitely not one of these woke ass historians that wants to talk about the 1619 Project. America started with slavery. No, it didn't. You bunch of fucking nuts.
Also,
Amendment. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You go
I was
first.
just going to say, 10th Amendment Center is a great channel. I watch them all the time. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I was going to say,
let's throw them in the chat while we're thinking about it. But yeah, the 10th Amendment Center.
You still there, Coop?
Matter of fact, they typically do a show, what, about 12 o'clock every day? Right in the afternoon. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was trying to.
gotcha.
It's interference on my end, so I apologize. That's why I was asking.
Where's my connection going to shit? No, you're good, brother. They're still working on fucking cable and shit around me, so my internet is in and out. It's driving me up a wall. All right, Tennessee's getting started. So let me unmute this.
We know illegal immigration is not victimless
We got a couple
crime,
other
and we are
bills.
aiming to capture data in only a small
I
portion of
think
the
the
number
one, yeah,
of
2035 is the
aliens in
second
this
bill we're
state.
going to cover.
The fiscal impact is not significant. The effective date of this legislation is this year, July 1st, 24.
Well, it's on the schedule to be second.
And the bill establishes that a person will be presumed to be not lawfully present
May
if they
not
cannot
go in order.
provide the following items: a verifiable Social Security card or number, a Tennessee driver's license or photo ID, a green card, permanent resident card, a student visa, a birth certificate issued.
Yeah, you're
within
right,
the
BB.
United
If they don't
States,
agree, yeah,
a
if you don't
valid,
agree, they just burn your
unexpired
shit
U.S.
around.
passport, a
Our government has
certificate
not
of
changed
citizenship,
much.
or a certificate of naturalization. And Mr. Chairman, before I go any further, I'll stop there and see if there's any questions that I may be able to try to answer.
And this should be the committee,
All
the
right,
House Criminal Justice Committee.
Representative Hardaway.
Like I said, they've got a couple.
Thank you,
they've got a
Chairman.
few bills on the schedule. It just depends on when they get to the constitutional carry bill.
To the sponsor, if I was arrested with no ID and no papers, then I would be deemed to be illegal and would be reported to the AG as such. Is that correct?
Well, I think this is, it says it requires a jailer and arresting law enforcement agency to collaborate to verify citizenship when a person is arrested in the state. So I would say yes.
Sir, I can't vote for that. And you and I are friends, but
absolutely.
that smacks. Well, I'll just leave it at. I can't vote for that. Thank you.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the very beginning, you said the purpose of this bill was to do what?
Collect data.
But you said something about suing the federal
Well,
government.
that's that hag. She got
yes.
thrown out of the House, her and those two others, for protest on the floor one day.
I guess you didn't have a question.
Representative Towns.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Sponsor, collecting data is what we want to do. Collect data?
Correct.
Okay. What about if there's a person of age 15, 14, 16, 17, does that same thing apply?
I don't know the answer to that. That's something that law enforcement would have to answer.
All the way down
Chairman.
to the state level. We're run by the dumbest sons of
Go ahead.
bitches on this planet.
Sponsor saying that law enforcement would have to answer something of that nature. Maybe legals can help us with that. How does this apply to non-grown people, underage people? And so I'd like for legal to give me an interpretation, please.
Mr. Chairman, would it be all right if we go out of session and honor his request?
We can do that. Out of session legal, please.
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. I can tell you that under current law, under 40-7-123, the Tennessee Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission is tasked with developing a standardized written procedure for verifying the citizenship status of individuals who are arrested, booked, or confined in any county or municipal jail. And then when a person is so arrested, the keeper of the jail must utilize that procedure to verify their citizenship status and report those individuals to the appropriate immigration and customs enforcement, detention, and removal operations field office if the keeper of the jail determines that they are in violation of the Immigration and Naturalization Act, or if their status cannot be determined. I don't know that a 15-year-old would be arrested and jailed, so I don't know that if they would come under that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's what concerns me because it's not spelled out one way or the other. And chances are they probably will be. Because as the bill, and correct me if I'm wrong, legal, the bill states that if they don't have those identifying documents, that they can be arrested. We certainly at that age of maturity, they can be arrested, right?
The bill applies to people who are already arrested for something else. If after they have been arrested for committing a criminal act, then the jailer is tasked with determining whether or not they are lawfully present.
Got it. Thank you. That's good for me.
So legal, you're saying that what this bill wants to do, we're already doing.
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. Under 40-7-123, when a person is arrested, booked, or confined for any period in a jail of a county or municipality, the keeper of the jail shall utilize the post procedure to verify the citizenship status of each person arrested, booked, or otherwise confined, and report those individuals to the appropriate Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detention and Removal Operations Field Office.
You know, I think they
If the
changed
keeper of the jail
freaking
determines that
schedule.
they are in violation of the Immigration and Naturalization Act, or if their status cannot be determined.
Okay, any other questions for legal
No,
while we're
sir.
out of session? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you may be able to answer this, but last night we, on the floor, we had House Bill 2774 that was related to this. And it seems to me that both of these bills kind of go in tandem, that the 2774 was with the district attorney generals creating the
See when
report.
exactly
And
they
it
hit
seems that this legislation ensures that the information from law enforcement goes to the district attorney generals in order for them to create that report and send it back to the speakers and us. Is that your understanding as well?
I think that's correct.
That is correct.
Yes, if we pass this would say to the DAs to report to ICE and the jailers to report to ICE, or the jailers to report to the DA and the DA reports to ICE.
And to
There
us.
is a
They
red
create that
flag
report.
law
They-
too
The way I understand how they work
we're going
together,
to talk about.
in my estimation, and I want to make sure that this is accurate, is that this current piece of legislation ensures that the jails and the law enforcement agencies gather that data accurately and give it to the district attorney generals. In 2774, the district attorney generals are the ones that create that report for us. So it ensures that they get the correct information in order to get the report.
It looks
back.
like the two bills
correct.
about
Would you
firearms
care
we're
to
going to talk about
opine
is
on that,
HB
legal?
2035 and then HB
Michelle
2082.
Fogarty, Legal Services. The bill before this committee requires that the jailer report the information to the District Attorney General's conference. Yes.
So it kind of depends on
Chairman Howe.
how fast.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for clarity, is that the only difference
Anyway, we're going to
between what's in current code and the bill that we're looking at now? Is that they reported to the conference?
I'm going to make another cup of coffee.
The current code that I just read, the jailers report it directly to ICE. This bill requires the jailers to report the information to the District Attorney General's conference.
And then they reported it to ICE.
Yes.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman. And to legal, does current code make it an offense to be unable to provide the documentation? Or does the new legislation that's being offered make it an offense not to provide the documentation that's cited in section 1 of this bill, amended bill?
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. Neither current law nor this amendment make it an offense. or create any sort of criminal offense for failure to provide the documentation.
All right, so if you don't provide the documentation and the law enforcement officer or jailer, and I'm reading straight from the amendment, then a law enforcement officer or jailer may presume the individual is lawfully present in the United States based on the officer's personal knowledge of the individual. Is the offset to that if the officer or jailer does not have personal knowledge, that they will presume that the individual is unlawfully present in the United States?
Subsection B of the amendment states that a person is not lawfully present within the United States if they cannot provide any of the documents that are listed there in subdivision B1.
All right, so is there guidance in federal law on the definition of lawfully present within the United States? And how does this mesh up against that definition?
This bill defines unlawfully present as not being able to provide any of those documentations. So for purposes of this law, that definition would control. And then those persons, their information would just be provided to the District Attorney General's conference.
So is there a definition, and I know it may require some research where you can't give it to me at this time. Is there a definition or description of unlawful in the United States in the federal code? I would assume there is.
I believe there is. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to research it to give you the exact site, but I'm pretty positive that somewhere within our Code of Federal Regulations or the United States Code, there is a definition of what is deemed to be lawfully present in the United States.
Okay, so I will use the chairman as an example in the scenario I'm going to ask you to comment on. If Chairman Halsey is caught somewhere in the backwoods, deep where the sun don't shine, without any of these documents, and nobody knows his pretty face, then he is not lawfully present within the United States. Is that correct? According to this amendment.
For purposes of this amendment, he could be considered to be to be not lawfully present within the United States. However, under subsection C, the jailer or law enforcement officer may presume that he is lawfully present based on the officer's personal knowledge of the individual. So if the officer had personal knowledge of him, the law enforcement officer could presume that he was lawfully present.
And if the officer never heard of Bud Halsey, either as a law officer nor a state representative and chairing the Judiciary Committee.
That'd be rare.
No doubt. But he could be, under this bill, considered to be unlawfully present in the United States of America. Is that correct?
For purposes of this amendment, yes, and then his information would be provided to the District Attorney General's conference for whatever purpose that would serve.
Okay, so the data would reflect, the data that would be provided to the AG would say that here's one person in that data set. I don't know if we're sending names or not, but it would be recorded in the numbers, the statistics.
Yeah, Bob.
Bud
It's
Halsey
after the
would
arrest,
be one
trying to
person
determine whether someone's
that would be
lawfully
reported
present
in
in the
that
United
data set,
States, and
among
then
others,
collecting data from it.
as
That's all
being
this is.
unlawfully present in the United States.
But these people
you
use
don't have to
any kind of
comment on this,
abstract BS to
Madam Lawyer.
try
But
not to
the,
collect data on how many
the
people
fact
are in
is
this
that data
community.
would not be accurate. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Representative Towns.
Mr. Chairman, I don't care where it is in the world. If it's on the moon, I still know you. This is a question for legal as well. Just say you had a group of people coming from another country that were visiting the country, touring, having a good time, spending money, you know, enjoying the sights of America, and they were stopped
Definitely write
somewhere.
these bills a hell of a lot.
And certainly they're not going to have those documents on them.
Idiots.
But that applied to them as well, Madam Counselor.
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. A B2 visa, which my understanding is a tourist visa, or a valid unexpired e-passport, which is part of the visa waiver program, are two of the documents which a person could provide if requested. But under the amendment, it says the sheriff shall report the status of persons who are not
100%
lawfully
DV.
present within the United States or whose status cannot be determined to the District Attorney's General Conference. So if they were unable to provide the documentation listed in the amendment, then they could fall within that reporting status.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Chairman, under the this scenario, let's say they have the documents, but they're in the room. They're on the other side of town. They're on the other side of town, and they don't have access to the documents. They may have their visa, their traveling documents, but they don't have them with them. And so at that point, they still are subjected to having to go downtown to go through that rigmarole to prove what they are, who they are, whether they're citizens or not. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, Bart, man, living over in Germany and places like that when I was a kid, yeah,
Well, that was to me.
we had our IDs on us at all times.
Legal.
But we were
I'm sorry,
also there.
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. I can't speculate on the law enforcement policies or
How
how they
long
would
were you in
handle that
Germany, Coop?
situation.
Thank you.
Representative
We were
Gant,
over
did
there
you
was
want to reply to
2
some of that?
years, right in the
Yeah,
early
I just
90s.
want to, I think we're kind of losing sight of what this legislation
around when
actually
the Berlin
does.
Wall was
All
around?
this is doing is collecting data.
Yeah,
We're not pursuing somebody to arrest.
yeah, we got over there and this last time we were in
Vice Chair
Heidelberg, Germany.
Gillespie.
I think we got over there in '89 and
Thank
left
you,
out of
Mr.
there in
Chair,
'92.
for legal still. Is there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I
that
remember when the
law
wall came down.
enforcement,
There were people
deputy
selling
jailer,
spray painted chunks of
all
concrete
those
saying it was from the
people,
wall.
And I say
You know,
this 'cause
some
I've
of
witnessed
those
it
bricks actually
firsthand,
have that wall. You
have
know
a
where they're made
way
from?
of looking up either through electronic
Some of those were
records
actually made from the
or
very buildings
through
the East
radio
German government was actually
communication,
destroying some of the homes from people that were living there.
verifying a person's
Oh, yeah.
identity. Is there anything in the code, in our code or U.S. code that
The only time you should be,
I know you
and
mentioned
it
code,
really is, the only time you're
commission
legally
had a
required to
procedure.
identify is if
Is
you've
that
committed a
something that the
crime or
sheriff's
under
office
suspicion
would
of
elaborate
committing a
further?
crime, which is a very broad
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services, under 40-7-143
circumstance, I'll
of the
say,
Tennessee Post
because
Commission,
there are
Like the
police that'll be
Stasi.
out there. Well, I think you're
standardized
doing
written
something.
procedure for verifying
Yeah, and they
citizenships.
abuse the
I
shit
don't
out
know
of it.
what that procedure is. It's not in code. We just task them with
Well,
doing
abuse it. They
that.
would shoot their own
And so that would
citizens, and a
be
lot of
a
times some
question
of the
for
East
someone
German
on
soldiers that
the
were young, they didn't want to even do it because they were killing their own people and their own neighbors.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so when I read the amendment, under section 1, the very first line under subsection A, it says when a person is arrested, booked, or confined for any period in the jail. So my understanding of this is that data is
If you're
collected
in a
then.
country
They
that doesn't
can't
have
verify
your
their identity at the
documentation,
time
you
of
better have
arrest
the
or
papers to
booking.
prove why
And
otherwise being in
normally
this
when you're
country.
booked, you're fingerprinted.
It's,
You're
that simple.
You're run through
look,
ticks. You're run
as they
through
get more into this bill,
NCIC.
they're talking about people who
various
are
ways
actually
that
confined
your
after jail, and then they
identity
have to prove that
is
person's identity
verified. Is that
because you
correct?
can't lock someone up without proving their identity.
Exactly.
As far as
I
I
mean,
know, that's accurate.
It is.
you can arrest them before you can prove identity, but when you jail them, you have to fingerprint them. You have to identify them so that
Hey,
they're
thank you, Mr.
tracked throughout
Chairman.
the system. So for this
Legal
saying
made
that,
to
hey,
verify this,
when
they
you
may
are
not
arrested, when you were
have,
jailed, you'd be
information
fingerprinted and
on that, but
identified just like any
the
American.
fingerprinting process.
But
when
if we
someone
find
is
out you're
booked, it's
illegal,
not an
we're going to
immediate
report those numbers.
thing.
I got
That
no
is
problems
sent
with
off
that.
to
to the
They
state,
also,
when they do
last
the
I checked
fingerprinting.
though,
But
don't foreign
when
countries,
someone
they
is
don't have
arrested, when they're brought
a
into the
background check
jail,
system for every person out there, you
there
know,
are
for
methods in
getting the
which
authority
they
to come to
can
America.
look through previous booking records. They can, if they have
Man,
information, the name,
we got
date
so
of
many
birth, and
people
social
coming in this
security
country
number,
that they can't
they are
find
able to
backgrounds on.
provide
It ain't
that
even
type
funny.
of information
Well, no,
to,
because I'm saying certain governments, like say
you
what
know,
it was
the
like in
jailer or law
Venezuela, I
enforcement
bet
at
their
the time. They
background
can
check
go through
system's
and
not
check,
like what we have
you
here
know,
in the States.
driver's
Like they don't have the
license
documents of every
databases
person
and
out
other
there, I
things
bet.
like that. Or if they tell them that I was,
Well, here's the problem with
No,
people
I mean,
from
it's,
other countries coming here to buy guns. They might not have a background here, but do they have a criminal history where they came from?
Exactly.
BB, I don't know what the latest ruling from the Supreme Court is. I know that much like on Terry stops and stuff like that, that they have found it constitutional for the police to make you identify under suspicion of a crime, which, like I said, that gets abused so much it ain't even damn funny. As annoying as some people could be, like the First Amendment auditors and stuff, you can look those guys up and they'll go out and video and they get into it a lot with police. Matter of fact, one of the guys, he's not necessarily a First Amendment auditor. He did a lot of stuff with constitutional rights and what's, you know, police abusing powers and stuff. They got his ass in jail right now.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think that they should be denied any purchases for whatever legal status they have, as long as they're peaceable. What I'm saying is we have people right here who are denied, who are natural born Americans
Yes.
for the same types of reasons, and they can't even prove it for these people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's,
Yeah.
you know, it gets into that where, you know, we've talked about it plenty of times on the channel before. If someone's safe enough to be out on the street walking free, they should have all of their rights.
I
I
absolutely
don't give a
agree.
shit whether they've got past felonies or anything else. If they've served their time, they did their thing. If they are safe enough to be on the street, they're safe enough to own firearms.
Like
That's just all there is to it.
I was arguing with this with another person because I was actually against this at one first.
Yeah, Bob.
When I was looking at this, I actually was like, okay, maybe
Didn't say I liked the guy.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Coop.
I was mentioning something Bob said. Go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Like the question on the 4473.
Yeah, Chili DeCastro was a dude.
Yeah, on the 4473 form, I was actually thinking about this. If you're a non-citizen, you do not have the right to own or possess a firearm. All right, let's rephrase the question. All right, if you're a non-citizen and you're a human being, does that give the right to the United States government to tell you, no, you don't have the right obligation to own a firearm? Especially if you're a non-violent citizen.
When we go back in. And
it's the argument that we've talked about before. If owning a firearm really is this natural right,
the definition,
then if you are in the United States, allowed to stay in the United States
unlawfully,
you should be allowed to own a firearm, have a firearm.
Definition that fits.
It only matters what you do with that firearm. If you were out there, shooting people, robbing people with that firearm, then your ass needs to go to prison for a long fucking time.
Thank you.
But the mere act of you having a firearm should never be a crime.
Yep.
That's like saying, oh, well, you got beer in your house, you got a car in your driveway, you could possibly drink and drive, so we're going to throw you in jail for DUI.
Not lawfully present is
Thank
defined for
you.
purposes of this amendment.
Exactly.
So it wouldn't matter if it was defined elsewhere.
No, because I
the
thought
only
about this. Like, all right,
definition
say
that
you've
would
had
be
a buddy
relevant
from Canada,
would be what
and
is in
he's
the
not a
amendment.
citizen, but he's in the process of trying to become a citizen of the United States.
The definition.
He gets found that he's in possession of a
Not an
handgun.
attorney, but the definition in
That's a
layman's
felony in the federal
is
statute.
you don't have the
Dude,
documents.
Believe it or not, someone coming to the United States, even if they're here on a visa, okay, if I decided to take them to the range and immediately when I hand them a firearm, I have just handed a firearm to a non-citizen, that's a felony.
Yep.
That I just transfer a firearm, because to transfer a firearm, all I got to do is hand something to somebody. It's how ridiculous these fucking gun laws are. And yeah, BV about, papers and stuff like that. when you put someone into a jail system, you have to identify them because you have to be able to track them. But outside of that, the police should never be able to stop me and, hey, papers, please. No, hey, fuck you.
They have no cause, pretty much.
No, but I mean, they'll make up calls. And yeah, that dude, Chili DeCastro, man, I've never been a fan of that cat's. But hey, what he's doing is constitutional. He wasn't doing anything that was breaking a law. So I don't think they should be in prison or in jail and going through courts right now. No, man, we survived for hundreds or a couple hundred years without a 4473. And it has not made a difference in criminals getting firearms. It has, however, been used to stop plenty of law-abiding citizens from getting firearms. Anytime they tell you, well, we've stopped 2 million people from getting firearms. No, you haven't been stopping criminals because 90-something% of those are all false positives.
No, and here's the thing, Coop. I mean, yes, it's a small minority if they actually, if 4473 background check form is enough to actually prevent somebody from buying a firearm. But your average state criminal doesn't go to a store and buy it. Usually they actually get it from another partner, use it in a crime. It has a defaced serial number off it, and they keep passing on to the next criminal over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know where the freaking criminal gets it in the first place? They steal them.
Most of the time, yeah. That's like most of the time. If there is a crime solved with a firearm, it is a ballistic match. So they pull slugs out of one dude, they find a gun later, same caliber, or using the same situation, they match the ballistics. Which even ballistics, since you're just going off of similarities, ballistics can be screwed up. But it's never, the only thing you solve by a serial number is if someone reports a gun stolen and they give you a serial number, then you catch someone else with that gun, you run a serial number. Oh, wait, this gun's stolen. More than likely, you haven't stopped a single violent crime or anything else. Serial numbers do not matter.
Oh,
what's more likely? Some guy's going to go out there who wants to be the big bad criminal. So they take the time to build a functioning firearm with a ghost gun, or they get a gun from the crack house where they're getting their crack or they're selling their crack, and it's got a serial number, and they take a rock and they remove the serial number.
The crack house one.
Yeah, I do believe crack house is higher on the list.
Right. And I'll tell you right now, the average criminal out here doing this type of shit, I built polymer 80s. These motherfuckers ain't smart enough to do that. That's why they're criminals in the first place.
No, there are a lot that aren't. Now, are there some that are? Yeah. But just because they do something illegal with a firearm doesn't mean I'm fucking responsible for it. You know, I don't give a shit whether the dude's he's building RPGs in his backyard. I don't care.
Yeah, and Coop, I tell you what, with the shit I've seen in Chicago and the reports, most of the time those criminals are getting away with murder. You know how I think they actually are doing it? Okay, so a guy gets caught with a defaced firearm, right? They tried to put the ballistics into the crime to the actual firearm. They found out it's not the right firearm. You know why?
Huh.
Chances are, if it was the same pistol, like say it was a Glock 19 that guy was caught with, and his other buddy over here on the other side that was also found with the possession of a Glock 19, the barrels were probably swapped and interchanged.
Oh, yeah,
that wouldn't matter. One of the barrels would still match.
No, my point is like, what if his buddy was trying to rat him out, and instead of him getting caught with a crime, he would actually pass it over to his buddy?
Yeah, there's all sorts of dirty shit that can be done with that. That's why, and especially when you're in a position to where the state or the government is going to put someone in jail for a really long time, the highest burden of proof. And you should, I mean, will it mean some people go free? Yeah, it should. But there should never be a situation where it's kind of a gray area on if someone did something, they still lose their freedom, I guess is what I'm getting to. So, yeah, even if you catch someone with a firearm that's a ballistic match for something, you have to place them pulling that trigger. That's what a fucking investigation is. Because these guns, especially guns out there on the streets, they're going to change hands multiple times in a lot of cases.
And what's likely if the
Yeah.
guy is actually going to swap out a barrel on his partner and just rat him out to the authorities and, pay the charges on him?
Here's a question. How many guns, how many firearms are stolen from people who are quote unquote felons, but who are otherwise just living their lives now, right? So they leave their guns at home maybe most of the time, right? Now, how many of those out there have been stolen by actual criminals, and the person they were stolen from now cannot report it because they now fear going to prison for having been a felon in possession? There is a firearm that you now can never trace.
Yeah, my connection was going nuts right there.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
That to the state level,
Can you guys hear
so that
me?
we can guarantee
Yeah, we hear you.
consistency of the law across the state from all 95 counties. So with that, I'll stand.
Yeah,
ready for
Sam,
questions.
it ain't your connection, it's mine.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So once again, the state is preempting locals from doing what to keep the community safe. Probably the reason a local would do this is because at state level, we are basically not interested in doing anything that keeps our community safer when it comes to putting some guardrails on guns and gun access. All red flag laws or ERPA laws do are keep the guns out of the hands of dangerous people temporarily. Why they are dangerous. While they are dangerous, they will get their firearms back. This is a measure to keep communities safe. It is passed
like a
in
lie.
multiple
Once
states.
government
It is
gives you
doing
guns,
its
they almost
job.
never give them
It is not, it does not violate due process. Why will we not allow
All you red
locals to
flag
do
laws
what they
will
think
violate
they
due
need to do
process.
in their communities?
See,
And
this is
if the
state
state is
preemption what
not
they're talking
willing to
about here.
do the job.
They don't want localities to be able to throw in their own red flag laws. You have
Thank
to
you,
go
Mr.
by
Chairman.
state law.
Look, members, this bill has been in place in Oklahoma since 2020 for 4 years. Wyoming has just adopted the same measure. There are probably half a dozen other states that are getting ready to take this up as well. And the reason for that is Second Amendment rights are under attack from the federal administration. We've seen that with the resource center that's just been created by the Biden administration. So we here at the legislature are trying to eliminate the possibility of outside influences coming in and creating multiple different types of red flag laws and extreme risk protection orders across the state that's going to make it confusing not only for citizens, but also for law enforcement and judges across the state, and how and which ordinances are going to apply in different circumstances. So for purposes of making the law clear, concise, and uniform across the state, this bill is necessary.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you. So a simple question. Do you believe that folks who are a danger to themselves or others should have weapons, should have guns?
That's why you have civil commitment laws, lady.
I don't have an objection to that
You
question or
cannot
that statement.
legislate morality, period.
Well, I'm asking you personally, do you think that people who are a danger to themselves or
Be
others should
reported
have
by anybody.
access to guns?
You take the person's guns. If it was a
Short answer,
suicide
no.
situation, they still have every other way in the world committing
Okay, so
suicide.
you don't
haven't
think people
stopped
who
any
have
damn thing.
should have access to dangerous weapons if they cause a danger? Okay. Do you believe that guns should be stored securely?
I store my
Secure
guns
storage
securely,
don't stop
yes.
shit, lady.
So you
It's
believe
not
that they should be
self-defense.
stored securely?
I store my guns securely, yes.
I do too. So do you believe that we should have universal background checks?
You already have it on the
I'm
federal
sorry.
level, woman.
I'll get back on the bill.
All right.
I'll stay on this one. So you are going to prevent communities to do what they believe works for their community because what the state
Yeah,
knows better.
Your name, that's a good question. Who gets to decide who is supposedly dangerous?
Representative, I'm not doing anything.
I
The General
guarantee you they
Assembly
ain't going
will
into
adopt a
fucking
bill that
Memphis,
they think
Tennessee and red
is
flagging a bunch of gangsters.
necessary to protect the rights of citizens across the state of Tennessee.
If it violates a right to a Second Amendment, then whatever county or city enacts it, then they will have the consequences for that. It's not like it's going to it won't
Did they have consequences
stand if
for
it's not
Duncan Lamp in Maryland?
constitutional.
Just fight it out in the courts.
Why
It'll
does
take
state
decades
need
and cost
oversight?
millions of dollars. Just out in the courts.
Yes.
The state's not providing oversight, ma'am. The state simply would be saying by adopting this bill that this is an area of the law that would have to come from and originate from the state level.
Yes, but a bill that you brought. So don't put yourself
This
outside
lady
of
is
this
way out on the
legislation
ragged edge
because
leftist. So
you brought the bill.
And I'm proud to do so.
Well, I can't vote for your bill because I believe it is clearly endangers Tennesseans.
Not surprised.
Like, you know what the fuck you're doing.
Okay, we have 20 minutes and we have to be out of this room. So we might have to streamline some comments or streamline some questions. Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move previous question.
Objection.
Okay, previous question been called. There's objection. We're going to vote on the previous question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
The ayes have it. We're voting on the bill, House Bill 2035. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
The ayes have it.
No.
Sir, move to calendar
yeah,
rule.
baby, that would.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
As we
You
said,
would.
item 3 is off
Danger
notice.
to yourself. Oh, he smokes and drinks. He's a danger.
Item
to
number
himself.
4. You got a motion and a second for
Hey,
House
Joe.
Bill 2302. Representative Howe.
Yeah.
I mean,
You and I,
sorry,
you and I
Representative
both know
Hardaway.
this shit's not going to even.
Thank you, Chairman,
solve
and
the
I
root
was
cause.
looking
It's
to be
only
recognized
solving
before we
the,
got on the
symptom.
bill. But I would just remind my members that I brag on y'all. I brag on the fact that we are a deliberative committee, and I'm proud to serve with you. And when we get on the floor, we
Oh,
make
this
a
is
big
pretty good.
deal.
That's
out of,
why
being
typically
able
when you
to
look at red
serve
flag
with
law,
that. All of the bills.
someone who
that we
falsely
stamp,
accuses
give
somebody
our stamp
their
of
guns
approval.
taken away, there's
We
really no penalty.
say that we
Because all
had
they do is say they
thorough
reasonably believe
deliberations
something,
in committee.
and that gets them out of the whole thing.
Please let that be the case on all of these bills.
Thank you, Representative Hardaway. I appreciate that. We're in House Bill 2302 by Chairman Howe. We got a motion and a second. Chairman Howe, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2302 is known as the Ben Creedich Act. Ben was a young man with autism. He advocated for students with special needs. He has testified in front of Senate committees here numerous times. Tragically, Ben was struck and killed by an impaired driver while walking on Kingston Pike in Knoxville. The driver had recently been administered Narcan. Narcan is a prescription medication commonly administered to reverse opioid or drug
They called the wrong
overdoses.
bill number. This
And
is
while it
Bill
does often
1947
reverse
from what
those
I'm reading.
symptoms and can save a person's life who has overdosed, the drugs can still remain in the person's system, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. So this bill
He
authorizes a
says
first
2032.
responder who
2032 is
administers
criminal
Narcan to a person to notify
offenses,
that person of the risks
aggravated
associated with
cruelty to
driving
animals.
within a 24-hour period and made aware that they could be ticketed if stopped
Isn't it already
for
law?
driving
Coop?
while impaired. The bill also adds
Yeah, this
driving
is
within a 24-hour
criminal
period
offenses, amends
after being
TCA
administered Narcan
39,
to
Title
the
40,
DUI code. That's all.
Title 55, introduced,
Chairman.
increased
By the
from
way, we've got an amendment
15
I'm showing on here.
days to 15 business days, the
All right,
time
motion,
period a
is there a
court
second?
may
A second
send
on
notification to defendant's conviction of aggravated
017292.
cruelty to animals to the
Wait a
appropriate
minute.
protective agencies if the defendant resides with a minor.
017292.
or elderly
So it's
individual.
this one.
Yeah,
Oh,
All
now they
right,
catch it.
bottom of number 2. They both have the same code, but number 2.
See, guys, I'm trying to keep them on track, man. Maybe
Okay,
someone's watching.
you're correct, Leader. I think you did make a motion on that amendment. The
That's the
amendment is 017972 to go on to House Bill 2302. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Now the amendment's on. Representative Towns.
Let's see if they're back on the right bill now.
2302.
So what bill are we watching for again?
That's the amendment.
We're waiting for 2082.
Amendment 2.
Okay, any questions for the sponsor? Representative Johnson.
2082 is the fix for the constitutional carry
Thank
stuff.
you, Mr. Chairman. So it's my
It's really the only
understanding
two we
that
wanted to pay attention to were the
people
red flag
who,
law and then the
have
constitutional
benefit
carry stuff.
get a very similar drug that
They passed
or
the red
get
flag law
Narcan,
one.
At the dentist also.
They
can come
they went
from-
ahead, they
from
sent it out.
anesthesia.
This
They
was
might be
just the
driving home from
judiciary.
dentist
So what they did was
and,
sent that out. It was a preemption law,
still
meaning that
have that in their
counties
system.
and cities couldn't come up
Does
with their
your
own red
bill
flag
take
law. They
that
have to go
into
by state
account?
law. They can't do local red flag
Current law
laws.
does. When I go to my
So
dentist to
they
find
passed
out
that out of the
administer,
judiciary, so
some
it'll go
kind of
before the
drug
full
that makes me
house
woozy or puts me out,
the next little
I'm
bit.
told not to drive within 24 hours.
Well, actually, when people are like after they've even used Narcan, say they've taken fentanyl, and you use Narcan, it's not the Narcan that is not allowing you to drive. It's the fentanyl that is still in your system.
You're exactly right. Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If I may.
God, that lady is such a
According to
troll.
the medical profession, which I quoted, I believe
You're
it
telling
was
me.
the National Institute on Drug Abuse, even though you regain
If you
the
do that, they
faculties
get a
of
rise
the
of an answer
Narcan,
out of you.
the drugs that it is administered to reduce the impact of still remain in your system. That's why this bill was brought forth.
Right, and so what the concern is from the folks that I talked to is that having that Narcan in your system from
So they're going
the
to
dentist
they're going
or
to get through
whatever,
these
even though
bills
that
or
does
try to
not
get through them
affect your
pretty
driving,
quick.
the
So
fact
they'll hit
that
the
it's in your
constitutional
system
carry pretty fast.
could cause a problem for them.
Although I think the Democrats are going to drag their feet and try to.
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would say that in any time, even if you are lawfully prescribed medication or use medication and you get out and drive in a vehicle and you have a wreck and you kill someone, they're going to draw your blood. And if that medication, whether it was prescribed or used unlawfully, is found to be in your system, they are going to prosecute you as with particular homicide in that case. And so it is, I think this is a very good bill because it's putting folks on.
Let me see. I was dragging a little bit on time, but
this bill.
I think also legal can add just a little bit if we go out of session. Legal, please.
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. The amendment that the committee just adopted clarifies.
they said they had to be out of here
presumption
or be out of that
of
room in like 20
intoxication
minutes.
is
So
due to the underlying
we'll
controlled
see.
substance
These
and
Democrats
not
might drag their
Narcan,
feet to where they don't even
or
hit the
the
constitutional carry
opioid-related,
part today.
the opioid antagonist. So it clarifies that the presumption of intoxication is due to the underlying controlled substance that was consumed and is not based on the administration of the Narcan.
Any other questions for legal? Representative Johnson.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And that's what I was trying to say. If for some reason someone was pulled over and they did have Narcan, I'm not saying they were pulled over because they were driving erratically.
Man, they
but
always
the
overcomplicate things, don't
Narcan
they?
was there. So that's what I was trying to say. And just in case I don't get called on.
Oh
again,
yeah, man, they're
I do
constantly
want
just
to point out that I
freaking-
do support what this bill is doing. I know very well, as being friends to the family, and I knew Ben, I know how important this bill is, but I also want to make sure we get it right.
Any other questions for legal?
Coming from the
Representative
woman, it's
Hardaway.
always screwing up on law.
Thank you, sir. Madam Counsel, are there any legal implications, civil or criminal, for the failure of a first responder or the dentist to inform someone of the potential impairment that they may have from drugs?
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. This amendment states that a first responder who administers an opioid antagonist may provide information on the risk associated in an effort to ensure that the individual is informed of the potential dangers and legal responsibilities. There is no liability imposed on the first responder under this amendment.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, we're back in session. Leader Lambert,
Move previous question.
previous question been called. We are voting on House Bill 2302 to go to calendar rules. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Move to calendar rules, Chairman. That brings us to item number 5 on the calendar, which is House Bill 2082.
Here it is.
You have a motion and a second. Representative Fritz, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you don't mind, I'll sit here today. There are several amendments I would ask that we keep it the 18335 amendment for the discussion today, if that's agreeable to yourself and committee.
There's a motion and a second on 018335 attaching to House Bill 2082. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The amendment's on, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just offer that this bill would move to correct Tennessee Code from 1989, where currently under Tennessee law, a person commits an offense who carries with the intent to go armed. This current code assumes a crime rather than relying upon the presumed innocence of the person. It is, I would offer, in direct conflict with the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 26 of the Tennessee Constitution. I would offer further that our Constitution assumes
Doesn't mean
the
they're not going
rights
to keep
of
pushing it,
natural
though.
law and nature's God when it concerns matters of self-preservation and self-defense. And the authority of the people over the government is contained in our Constitution. That the government actually has boundaries to which it can and may not operate within. This bill seeks to ensure that. Shall not be infringed is a clear statement. And citizens of the state have a right to keep and bear arms. These rights are assumed, I would offer, in perpetuity in our Constitution. The Constitution sets the boundaries and the processes of the government. And all law must be consistent with the Constitution. Would offer just a few brief comments, Mr. Chairman, and I'll close quickly. What this bill does in its current posture, it removes subparts A, E, and G of 3917-1307. By removing A, Tennessee law would allow citizens to join 46 other states in the United States, including every state that touches Tennessee, with the ability to lawfully carry rifles and shotguns. By removing A, was suggested, and there's a friendly amendment that you see on the bill, to remove 1308. That is within the language that you see. It cleans up some associated language with statuses as recommended by legal staff when we did these amendments. And it further separates the state of Tennessee from states like New Jersey, New York, and the District of Columbia, where individual rights are not honored. It brings Tennessee in compliance with the holding of the United States Supreme Court in the Bruin decision. What it does not do, it does not change any laws prohibiting felons from possessing firearms. Does not change any laws regarding prohibitions on people with domestic violence convictions from possessing firearms. Does not change any laws regarding prohibitions on people with stalking convictions. Does not change any laws prohibiting people with mental health adjudications from possessing firearms. And again, it does
Everything
not
he's mentioning
change
is
the laws which
unconstitutional.
regulate when a juvenile can legally possess a firearm. And finally, it does not change any laws regarding the age limit for the purchase of firearms, much of which is controlled in 18 U.S. Code 921 and 922. I would offer these comments as a closing remark, Chairman and Committee, and I appreciate your forbearance. Our Constitution applies 24/7, 365. And we have no authority to abridge the rights of the citizenry. And I would offer further in this time, as we discuss often, and you hear me often talk about the crisis with illegal aliens, we have to not fully honor the rights of Tennesseans is the wrong thing to do. So I have, Mr. Chairman and committee, I've been unsuccessful in being able to accurately communicate the information. And as you know, the bill is held up in the Senate. I take responsibility for that. And what I would ask, Mr. Chair, is that we hold the bill in its current state. And if by some act of divine providence, the Senate does move on that bill, I would ask that we reopen and reconsider that bill. And with that, I would yield to the will of the committee, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Now
thank
he
you,
wants to hold
Representative
on
Fritz.
to it.
You are correct. It is parked in the Senate, and unless they open a committee to hear it, it won't be heard. So unless there's objection to it, we will hold this bill in our committee to see what the Senate does, and if we will go from there. Any objection? Leader Lambert.
No objection, but I do anticipate we're about to adjourn in a moment, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to be the first of probably a couple to say you've done a mighty fine job of guiding us this year in this committee, the last 2 years. And we have enjoyed your wit. We have enjoyed your stories. We have enjoyed the interesting.
So it
procedural
looks
maneuvers
like
that you have
the House is just going to hang on to this
created,
shit.
that have moved us along well.
And they're kind of blaming it on the Senate,
Mr.
saying
Chairman,
the
thank you for the
Senate
leadership of this
hasn't
committee.
You're very kind.
got off their ass about it yet.
The intern of all interns has a gift for you if she will.
So that was a whole lot of buildup and nothing really happening with that one.
Send those down. I want you to know, folks, I appreciate you more than you know, and I've said before, yes, sir.
Let me check and see something else.
1882. Okay, I'm told that I need the gavel to hold this on the in the committee. So all those in favor of holding this bill in the committee, that is 2082, say aye. Opposed, no. All right.
And of course, no one else is going to object to holding that in the committee. So this is going to get stuck in committee.
I would like to echo what the leader said. It's an honor and privilege for me to serve on this committee. And there's something about wit and wisdom, which you have an abundance of, that goes a long way in guiding this committee through the deep waters of the legal process. And it is an extreme joy for me to serve with you on this committee. You do a great job. Thank you.
All right, so they're going to go through and kiss each other's ass for a little bit. Let me go ahead and kill that, because it looks like, yeah, they're just going to hold that one in committee. Because apparently the Senate can't get off their ass. So their constitutional carry, some parts of it, like, hey, if a police officer sees you or notices that you're carrying a gun, well, he gets to question you, and it's suspicion of committing a crime and all that. That's part of what this was supposed to fix. So looks like Tennessee, you guys are stuck with it right now.
We'll see.
Which is
even when we
insane,
go
because
to Senate, right? All those exceptions, it boxes everybody up, right? Only the people who are obedient to unconstitutional laws. When these guys say law-abiding, that's what they're talking about. Oh, geez.
Well,
my door just blew open.
It becomes a situation where, I mean, we all kind of got to play a game, but most of the crap that they talk about, you got to be this law-abiding citizen. You're right. You're obeying unconstitutional laws, but everybody's got to find their line on that. Because
I'm not
pretty
saying
much, if you're,
I'm just saying that if you pay attention, no matter what bill these quote unquote Second Amendment supporting, senators are trying to push, it's still rife with unconstitutional exception.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's if you look at hell, our criminal code, probably what 90% of it is all absolutely unconstitutional horseshit.
Yep. Coop, I was also going to bring up something interesting. I think I texted you yesterday. You see that pipe documentary? What happened to this guy?
Dude, I haven't had a chance to.
Okay, well, apparently there was an incident in India. So we talk about laws as far as violating the Constitution and our own rights. Well, how about human life? Like corporations, like they don't get held accountable for something they messed up on and nobody messed up doing.
There are a lot of times they don't.
I mean, I agree with that. I kind of look at the Second Amendment in the capacity of when you strip someone of their ability to be freely armed in public, right? You're basically, whether you're outright saying it or not is irrelevant. You're basically saying your life is no longer worth defending, even by you.
Yeah, it's that story there, Coop. But pretty much, I mean, you're a welder, right?
Yeah.
Have you worked on pipes, like oil pipes and stuff like that?
No, I haven't done any like petroleum transmission and stuff like that.
Okay. Oh, because that story I sent you, this story really disturbed me. So pretty much this I'd say they're scuba divers. So pretty much these divers literally were on a job at this oil rig, and one of the managers, I don't know who exactly did, but he said, well, you need to go in this box where this pipe is, where the oil is going in, and you got to remove the plug. Okay, and I'm like, okay, I think there's some bad going to happen here. And sure enough, since there's different pressures inside that chamber with the water and the airway, once they removed the plug, 8 guys got sucked into this pipe, and they're stuck in the pipe, and only one guy actually got out and survived. The other guys died and suffocated or drowned. And the company's getting held accountable for that shit, dude. It's fucked up, isn't it?
And man, it's constant when companies do shit like that, man.
Well,
but hell, look at COVID vaccines, man. None of these drug companies are going to get held accountable for any of the injuries from it.
It didn't really stop the COVID vax. I mean, it's hit or miss.
No.
I mean, you're going to get sick one way or another regardless. But no, that pipe incident really disturbed me. Imagine being stuck in a fucking pipe that's like the size of a hula hoop, and there's nothing but oil and water and very carbon dioxide in the vents. I mean, you're not going to survive that shit.
No, man. And there's plenty of companies that they absolutely do not mind getting their workers killed. Like they just do not care.
Have you encountered companies like that?
Which I tell a lot of my guys, man. I tell my guys all the time, you go to work for a company, pay attention to what their safety procedures are. And if they're a company that's not willing to keep you safe, you don't need to work for them. Because I've definitely worked for people that sure as hell didn't mind getting someone hurt.
Yep. Trying to see if there's anything else going active on Tennessee.
I don't see anything else going on in Tennessee. Here's something that'll piss y'all off.
That have been
voting to send everybody more fucking money
and have forced the United States to actually
How
take
much more
action.
money do they need to fucking keep sending to
That's
these
the
fucking
whole
foreign
point,
countries?
Mr. President. We're taking action. I'm a supporter of this legislation.
Yeah, this
But
is
we're
the House
doing it
floor.
because of the failures
Yeah,
of the
this is
current
the House
occupant of the
floor
White
right
House. So I'm going to encourage my colleagues, particularly my Republican
dictator
Senate
Xi
colleagues,
Jinping
You
in
beat me
China
on there
right
where
now.
you just
favor
about
this bill, but
everything
I think
pisses
it's
me off.
important to put it in a
Dictator
broader
Xi Jinping.
context of what's going on in the world. I've made a couple speeches on this before. I'm just going to reiterate some and add to some of the challenges we're facing because of the Biden administration. First, Mr. President, I think it's pretty obvious to everybody, anyone who's watching, we're in a new
Just trying to
era
look
of
at a couple things
authoritarian
real quick and make
aggression
sure I'm not.
led by this dictator. That's Xi Jinping. Look at him. He gets in his camis every now and then.
You know the crazy
threatening
thing is
his
too about him,
neighbors.
Coop?
By the way, China is going through the largest peacetime military buildup in the history of the world.
What did you say, War?
That doesn't make you
You
a
know
little
what's
nervous
crazy
about what's
about
going on in the
Xi
world? It
Jinping?
should. This guy is a brutal dictator.
He actually knew Mao.
It's led by him, Putin.
He actually knew Mao in person.
The Ayatollahs
Mao Zedong.
in Iran, the terrorists in Iran, largest state sponsor of
That
terrorism.
makes sense.
The mini
Yeah, Xi Jinping knew him when he was a youngster, and after his death, he's taken over China ever since then.
They're
Now,
driven by historical grievances. They're paranoid about their democratic neighbors. They are more than willing to invade them, as we're seeing across the world, whether Israel, whether Ukraine. And again, they're working together.
See a whole hell of a lot else that popping up is
on national security issues, military buildups.
it's hard to believe that that country's been like what 102,
gun
103
control
years of
bills
communism
going through
right now.
some.
Real dangerous era.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Biden administration on, we've had the Secretary of Defense, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs coming in saying, hey.
But I guess this is, they're voting on another one of their big aid bills.
Okay. Dictators are on the march. They're invading their neighbors.
We got to stop giving aid to those fucking foreign countries, dude. We spend enough in our pocket, man.
Dude, it's just, it's the insanity of the whole thing. We got plenty of shit we got to take care of right in our own borders, and they want to take care of everything for everybody else.
Look at the insurance. Look at the fucking phone
all
bills.
it is pay
The
off
grocery stores
to defense contractors, and these senators and Congress people are getting their little kick.
And this again is part of the Biden administration's fault.
Black screen. Oh, it's good.
We can't build Navy ships. We can't build Navy subs. Every component of our industrial base is shrinking, it's brittle, it's atrophied, and yet we're in this dangerous period. So that's pretty alarming. By the way, Mr. President, it's our responsibility.
Yeah, we definitely
Article 1
need
of the
to
U.S. Constitution, the Senate, the House,
take care of
to
our
raise
own
an
damn
army,
borders.
to provide and maintain a Navy. In my view, it's the number one constitutional duty we have, securing this nation. And yet, we are behind. The Navy just put out 3 weeks ago this alarming report saying the U.S. Navy is behind on every ship platform that they are building, 3 to 5 years behind. Carrier subs.
And why do you
Almost
think that is?
40% of our attack sub fleet is in maintenance, not even out to sea.
Well, because
He's
it's
scared
run
to
by the
death of
fucking
US
government.
subs. What's this guy
That's
doing? He's
simple.
Not as
cranking
bad,
out
but I think
10
nobody
to
wants to
12
join the military
ships,
service right
high-end
now.
Navy ships a year. The Chinese Communist Party's Navy is now bigger than the U.S. Navy. Danger in our industrial base.
Yeah, but the
can't
Chinese
produce
Navy
weapons the way
is
it could.
so fucking
And
weak,
then,
their
Mr.
ships could be
President, the
torn
third
up like
reason
a
I
piece
think
of
we need a
cardboard, dude.
national security supplemental is given how weak the Biden administration has been on national security. The current budget of this president shrinks the Army, shrinks the Navy, shrinks the Marine Corps. You think Xi Jinping's impressed by that? He's not. Neither is Putin. Neither are the Ayatollahs.
Dude, you
That's
think
what
he's
they're
impressed
doing.
with these
By the way,
transgendered
this
fucking
president,
generals we
every
got running
budget
shit?
he submits to Congress
If you were in
for the
China and
military
you were a
during these
trans,
real
it's a
dangerous
death
times,
sentence.
what does he do? He cuts it. Cuts the military. I'm going to get more to that, Mr. President. So these are the big three reasons that I've been supportive of this bill. But here's the thing, Mr. President. When you read the bill and look at it and dig into the details, it's less of a foreign aid bill and much more of a bill.
I wonder how much money it costs us for this jackass to have his little posters up there.
Not a perfect bill. I'm going to get into that in a minute. There's no such thing as a perfect bill, by the way.
Holy shit, look at all that.
Almost 60% of this national security supplemental bill that we're going to be voting on
What is that?
goes
That's
directly
Arizona?
to our industrial base. directly into our ability to build submarines. By the way, it unlocked $6 billion for submarines.
That's a big
$6 billion
district.
with the AUKUS agreement. $5 billion for 150 millimeter artillery shells. Over a $500 million.
Dude, I'd have to look into it. There were like 3 major plants that produce like artillery shells, 2 in the United States and 1 in the UK, that have either had fires or some sort of catastrophic failures in like the last couple weeks.
So that's a really important component. Almost 60% of this bill goes into that. And it has other things in it. $3 billion for our
stuff is awful fishy.
the CENTCOM area of responsibility right now who are in combat. Right now, taking incoming missiles from the Houthis. USS Carney almost took 100 different missiles and drones. Sailors in combat. This replenishes their weapon systems, helps our troops in combat. By the way, my view, just that element alone is enough to support this bill. You got American troops in combat in the Middle East. And of course, this bill does go to help partners, Israel, Taiwan, Ukraine, who are facing existential threats, literally
6 days ago,
from their very aggressive neighbors. But again, Mr. President, a lot of this is going to stay home. We're not sending subs to any of those countries. We're building submarines.
Speaking of subs, you know who has the biggest
ready if we
submarine
have
right now?
to, in a conflict with China, Xi Jinping, that dictator I was just showing you there.
It's
he's
the Russian
scared to
Federation.
nuclear
They got 4 of them.
abilities. This in our country, in our industrial base to produce weapons for America. Yeah,
Hey,
it's
so
going
there.
to put a lot of workers to work. But this bill primarily, if you read it,
Yeah, I hear
it's
you.
about protecting our nation.
Yep.
Now, as I said, Mr. President, it's not a
It
perfect
is. It's
bill.
bouncing in and
There's
out.
a number of
What's
things.
up,
I
Vanessa
some
Kitty? What's going on, my
debating
sister?
it a couple months ago here in the Senate floor. For
Yeah, I was
example,
saying
I
that
think
Russia
the
has the
direct
biggest
budget
submarine
support
right now, and he
economic
only got 4 of
aid,
them.
that should go to our European allies to help the Ukrainians.
Sounds about
That
right.
should go to the Gulf Arab allies.
You ever seen how big they are?
Who want to support
No, I've never looked into him. Hey, our Patriot, what's up, my brother?
economic aid. We should be providing the lethal aid.
If you don't have any
I
coffee,
will
man,
say,
you're
Mr.
sucking.
President, Speaker Johnson definitely improved the bill from what the Senate sent over a couple months ago. I applaud him for his impressive leadership. There's a number of improvements. The direct budget support and economic aid is now in the form of forgivable loans. That was a President Trump idea. I think it's a good idea. The Repo Act, Senator Risch has been pushing on that hard. He's done a great job on that. That would enable us to take seized Russian assets and help to use to pay for the Ukraine war. There's a requirement that makes the Biden administration lay out a much
Yeah,
more
they're
detailed
Typhoon class.
strategy
Yeah, it's
on
the biggest they got
Ukraine,
right now, and he only got 4 right
forces
now. They're
them
trying to make another
to
2.
provide Ukrainians attack and weapon systems. Focuses on fentanyl, focuses on TikTok.
Yeah. 48,000 tons of displacement.
Yep.
The improvements there, breaking the tie between the Chinese Communist Party and control of this popular app.
It's freaking crazy.
The House did try to take up some border security issues, Mr. President. I certainly wish those would have passed. Not sure my Senate Democratic colleagues would have voted on them, but that would have made
DB, what's up, my brother?
it better. But many improvements.
Well, we just figured out this morning that
Job on that. But
well,
Mr.
Tennessee
President,
passed
we've
a
had some critiques on
preemption bill out of the
this bill. I want to just
House Judiciary Committee, and then
address a few
they're
of those.
fixed to their constitutional carry. They're sitting on that one like a hen with an egg.
Vote on this. Some are quite
So
serious.
that's about the only thing that's
Some of
really
my
happened this
Republican
morning.
Colleagues have said, hey, the Europeans need to do more, particularly when it comes to Ukraine. I actually agree with that, Mr. President.
And of course, my fucking internet, man. Months, and they just will not unscroll.
Training and troop deployments for with U.S. forces that meet their 2% obligation. So I agree with those critiques, but some of the critiques from some of my colleagues, Mr. President, let's just say they weren't serious. Might remember one, that this national security supplemental was some kind of secret trap for a future impeachment of President Trump. This national security bill will, quote, strain our industrial base. Actually, it'll do the opposite. I think that's clear. It's going to make generational.
This supplemental to Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel is doing nothing but feeding defense
The
contractors.
national security supplemental sends, quote, the wrong signal to what the warfighter
So it's all a money game.
needs for actual threats we face. Well, I find that really curious, Mr. President. Let me give you one example.
Run gun, what's up, brother?
Commander Admiral Aquilino on exactly what he thought he needed for America and our forces to help defend Taiwan and the Taiwan Strait. That's in the bill. The original bill from the Biden administration had very little on that. We made it a lot better, a lot stronger, but working directly.
There was some other stuff coming up I got to try to track down. I think later this week.
To fight in the Taiwan Strait. So again, that criticism seemed really
as far as some firearms cases coming up and something else that I wanted to
the
cover.
senators doing the homework on what our warfighters need. But Mr. President, the biggest issue I have with some of the arguments and critiques of this national security supplemental that's actually coming from the left and the right in the House and in the Senate.
Oh, let me share this real fast because we talked about this earlier.
This woman, oh God, man, this judge.
Apparently, this is the judge who told that dude to not bring the Second Amendment into her courtroom. She looks so charming.
That's automatic grounds for dismissal.
It should be.
Not when you're in New York City, it's not.
To defend the Constitution in order to be a judge.
So that's a her. She doesn't care.
No, unfortunately, these little tyrant-ass judges don't care at all. And we've talked about Dexter's story a couple times on here. But I want to see. I think I read part of that the other night. I just wanted to see whether there was any updates to the story. But apparently not. Either way, man, it's going to take this dude. He'll be lucky if he's not in Rikers Island for the next 2 years before he can even bring up the Second Amendment in his appeal case. It is ridiculous. And yes, I mean, it's just more freaking proof that these judges give zero shits about your constitutional rights.
I think it's getting close to contact Jim Jordan, man.
Dude, I was talking about it on stream again last night. It's getting to the point, man. We need to try. Whenever Crump and everybody's ready for the stream, I'm down.
Let's do it. No, New York lost its rights a long time ago, man.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, not just the city, though.
The state
it
itself.
Ain't even just the city. This whole state is fucked.
What really did was Cuomo when he passed that in, New York Safe Act. That's really what kicked it off more.
Well, regardless, nobody, they know nobody can really afford to challenge this shit, man. So they
know it'll take decades and millions of dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, there it is. All right. Diversity, equity,
and inclusion, baby. Come on.
You know what the word equity means? It's not equality. You know what that always means?
Typically, when it's used like that, they want equal outcomes no matter where what people do as far as the actual work they put into something.
It's a financial word. It means they're taking your tax dollars and using it for their own benefit and gain.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on an equal playing field for equality. So every time you see that word equity, call out the bullshit.
Well, that's all it's ever going to be is bullshit. These fucking people, man, they play these little fucking word games. And that's how they get you with them little word games they play. It's all semantic bullshit.
Well, that's the reason they play these word games, man. It's the reason they can play games with the Second Amendment. They just change what words mean.
Nope,
they know they can't
up
get any or a lot of this shit passed.
Holy shit! What is this?
Good God!
Oh, it's a wildfire in India. Oh shit! It's a landfill. Oh shit, man!
Damn!
Look at how much that fire spread out. God damn!
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want to be in India right now.
Yeah, it looks like the fucking world's on fire.
I mean, yes, we get wildfires in California, but nothing like that. Good God.
Looks like Mark Smith was back on. Look at FPC, man. If you got an X account, you got to follow FPC. They have the best freaking social media.
Oh yeah, that new one. I saw that. That new rifle that they're trying to ban in California. They can't.
Wait, hold on. Was that the Reno May one up there?
Yeah, that one. They pretty much got rid of a pistol grip, and all it is now it's like a ranch rifle.
Yep. Doesn't have a pistol grip as long as you don't put a forward grip on it.
Which is retarded.
Which it was.
Break down. What is that? That's the government dictating to you how you're allowed to modify your own property.
Yes.
What?
It gets back to the fact that all of these gun laws are absolute horseshit. They don't stop a single thing, but they will, however, take someone who is not a danger to society and throw their ass in prison.
Last I checked, unless there's a crime not committed yet, you're not guilty. You're still innocent.
Well, here's the thing. Most of the shit or a lot of the shit they're considering crimes are just the government telling you can't have that, you can't do this, even though there's no victim.
And that's
they are. I'll post a link in for you, brother.
What power?
I'm not going to be on too much longer, but come on in.
What power could the government possibly have to dictate your actions to you, where said actions concern no lives but your own?
Hey, Well, that's where you get into the police powers that they'll bring against you.
Is it a crime to actually modify your vehicle, but if you cross state lines into another state, say like California, I'm committing a felony?
I think in some cases it can be, like removing catalytic converters. I'm pretty sure I'd have to look it up, because in some states, if you it may be under EPA regs, like people doing modifications to exhaust systems, removing catalytic converters and shit like that. I think that'll get someone, if they really wanted to push it, in a lot of shit.
I mean, hell, I found out certain paints are actually prohibited in California. You can't even have certain paints.
Dude, man, California has gone so far off the freaking rails with their stuff. It's not even funny. I've told the story before. There was a lathe a buddy of mine was letting me borrow, and a part of the lathe broke, and it's a little metal piece, but you could tell it was cast. So I went to order that piece, and under the description of that piece, it says, due to the composition of it, you couldn't even order that piece in California due to the risk of cancer. Like someone was just going to eat the piece. But it was whatever cast material, magnesium, zinc, whatever, and you couldn't even ship it to California. So, morning, AR. How's it going, my brother?
Morning. Good, guys. How you all doing?
We doing all right. We're just kicking around this morning.
It's like another option. Here's another example. Like me carrying a certain pocket knife, like if it's over 3 inches and it's not a foldable blade, you can, in certain states, to be arrested just by carrying or possessing that.
Oh yeah, man.
What was it? Butterfly knives too. Butterfly knives were felony possession at one point. Still.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that I've run into on social media. They're in the knife laws about like we are in gun laws, and yeah, it's insane. Some of these knife laws in states, like gravity knives, butterfly knives, it's insane.
Isn't it weird that everything you touch, don't matter what it is, can give you cancer in California? I mean, every single item.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
how about the
amount of water out of California? I'm pretty sure they probably got it on bottles of water at this point. Been known to cause cancer in the state of California.
Dude, the protesters pissed the royal fuck out of Alec Baldwin. He got tired of it.
Yeah, he ends up snatching old girl's phone.
I bet you people in California, I wonder what their cancer rate is compared to the rest of the nation.
By the way,
unless they're in San Francisco, it's probably the same as everywhere else.
By the way, AOC is now for the protesters that are preaching for Hamas.
Oh man, she's been for them.
We have some mosque here in the county I grew up in. I think it was 2006 and 2008. I went by there to a friend's daughter's house. Pretty girl. She's 39 years old, and Mary Lee, and I walked by there and seen the mosque, and I said, "Oh my goodness, wow!" Looked like something out of the Middle East, of course. But she would call me sometimes, and she would say, at the beginning of it, she says, "Man, they're out here pounding the crap out of here, blowing holes in the ground." And I said, "You probably do know though that they're digging really deep, and probably I wouldn't surprise me if they're storing ammo in that mosque." Because it's way underground.
Yeah, it is highly possible.
And if not that, it's definitely, they talk politics. A lot of people don't know this. They talk politics in a mosque more than they pray.
You mean believing in the way of the Islam?
Yeah. They get together and they talk about who they hate and fatwa this and fatwa that, and it's used as a political thing. It's not like our churches. But,
political Islam you're talking
about. One of the reasons our churches don't do it a lot is if they do that, then they would lose their tax exempt status.
Yeah, so we basically let a false church come into America because of that. Yeah, so I'll just say it false. So.
Political Islam's captured England, France, Germany, I think, and other parts of Europe.
Mm-hmm. There's a lady, you all probably know her, Bridget. I can't remember her last name. She's from the Middle East. She's on I think, podcasts, getting a lot of interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll tell you absolutely what the mosques are about. And she says, "You think it's religion?" No, it's kind of pretend.
No,
They do pray
I'm-
there, but
yeah. I'm not against
mhm.
Muslims, dude, but the ones that are the radicals for Palestine and Iran and all these crazy terroristic groups, I'm against 100%.
Mhm.
Hell, there's Muslims in Michigan actually that are against
Well, it definitely.
the education system,
Mhm.
and I'm all for them because the stuff happened in Michigan with the radicalized transgender stuff needs to stop, and I'm all agree with them on that.
Yeah, they think America's wicked. We're a bunch of infidels.
Oh man, they're pushing that agenda.
Mhm. Yeah, there's definitely friendly Muslims. There's no
I'm
doubt.
shutting
There's
down a couple
good
things
Muslims.
on my computer, and maybe I can help this connection out just a little bit.
I follow a guy called Jay Smith. Check him out sometime. Jay Smith.
It's like anything
got
else, man. When you get to the radical end of things,
Mhm.
But no, I haven't seen anything like this bad until like formerly like what back 2014 with ISIS. Now it's just gone big, man.
yeah, I'll have to check them out.
The only difference is though, Cope, is you got all these idiots literally going on the streets preaching for a country they have no fucking clue what they're dealing with, and they're still preaching for them.
Built me an upper coop.
Well, you can look at a lot of things, and all I can say about a lot of it is we can look at it to get a hell of a lot worse.
Oh, Cope, can you hear me?
Here, like I said, my connection. I'm sorry about this connection, guys, because my connection is definitely going stupid right now.
No, it's fine. AR was just saying he built a upper.
Mm-hmm. I think he's having trouble.
Oh, what'd you just get? What'd you build?
I built a core series, Criterion core barrel, Arrow R1, 15-inch handguard, and Arrow receiver upper build.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, matter of fact, I saw on your channel where you got all those parts in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
I did a video, but I messed up one of the videos and I deleted it, the intro. So I kind of messed up the whole series I was going to do on it. So I got to basically tear it down and go through the process and do the tutorial. Not going to do the tutorial totally because of YouTube. I'm going to kind of cut that out. But at least I'm going to say, hey, I'm doing this and doing that. And here's the product, so.
AR, are you doing any content on Rumble? I can't remember whether I follow you over there or not.
I did do all my streams went to Rumble. When the first of the year hit, it knocked me, MacMan, and all of us off. My streams went there, all my content. Somehow Rumble, I got a hold of StreamYard, and I think, StreamYard, and they said it was on Rumble's end. They did something where my content don't go over there anymore, so I'd have to physically just go over there now and upload.
Yeah.
So.
Like streaming like this, I know all my stuff goes over there. But yeah, as far as the video end, like when I do actually the few videos that I do produce, I got to go over there separately and upload them.
Okay. My streams aren't even going over there anymore, I don't think. I could be wrong.
If you set it up on StreamYard, it should be going.
Yeah, I know. MacMan says his stopped. Let me go. I'll look today and see if my streams are. I know my content's not anymore. That I post. Definitely.
Yeah, I knew it about the content because I've got some other videos and stuff that are all over, that are on my YouTube that I got to go to Rumble and actually post.
Mm-hmm.
But like right now, we're streaming live to YouTube, Rumble, and X. It's typically the way I'll set my streams up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way mine was. YouTube and X. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rumble and X. Excuse me.
Yeah, I was streaming to Facebook and then streaming to Rumble, but I decided to start doing a little bit more stuff on X. So I quit streaming to Facebook and started streaming everything to Rumble and X along with YouTube.
You know, after Musk took over Twitter, I hate to say it, but Twitter's getting more free now, especially on X now.
It's definitely not as crazy as it was. There for a little while, man, I was getting a freaking permanent ban on X. Shit, a couple times, every other month. And then I'd go through about 3 weeks and dispute it, and I'd get my account back. And then it'd be like a week, and then I'd get a permanent ban again. They'd wipe everything out. And I'd fight them for about another 3 weeks, and I'd get my account back.
Wow.
It seriously became like a damn daily adventure. I'd get banned, and then once a day I'd submit a little freaking dispute for it, and it'd take me like 3 weeks, and I'd finally get my account back. It's freaking and over some of the dumbest stuff. I mean, it would not like I was saying anything racist or anything like that. Called some people morons, but they were being morons. So
is X actually still rabid as it was prior before?
Oh man, yeah, there's still freaking as many rabid leftists on X as there's probably ever been. But my whole thing for the longest time with Twitter or with X is I was following all of these leftist politicians and Mom's Demand and all this crap.
And Brady.
Yeah, and Brady. I didn't follow anybody that I really agreed with. And then I finally decided to get serious and start actually trying to communicate with people on X versus just basically it being a hate account. That's all it was for the longest time.
I had the nerve to go on to Brady, man. I couldn't do that myself, dude.
It's like anything else. It's just knowing what these people are doing that are pushing all this anti-gun horse shit, and keeping an eye on them so you know where the fight is at any given time.
They're a cult.
They are definitely a cult. Definitely a cult. It is sometimes interesting to watch and sometimes just absolutely fucking mind-numbing. Now, if you guys wanted a bunch of good information on X, Crime Prevention Research Center is a John Lott's group. And they basically they destroy every gun control argument out there. And it's not even close. What is this
Gun
about?
control is really just about people control. It has nothing to do with the guns.
Yeah, that's all it's ever been about. This whole bipartisan Safer Communities Act they're using for a lot of this stuff. This bill's going to be a lot bigger nightmare as we go forward.
And that's the headache for the FFLs, correct? Like the moment they sell it, or even the person purchasing it, it's going to gain quote unquote financial, bidding.
Yeah, well, that's where they're pulling their so-called authority for this redefinition of who's in the business of selling firearms. Mm-hmm. It's also how you know it's nothing about safety, because I could buy a gun, decide I don't like the gun, and I could go sell it back to an FFL. And if the government can say that I made a profit on that gun, say the price on that gun went up or the value on it went up in between the time I bought it by the time I sold it, even if I sell it to an FFL, then I'm in the business. They can come after me. If I'm selling it privately, but I go to an FFL for the transfer and I have background check run and then do the transfer, they're still going to come after me. So it's got zero to do with safety or keeping guns out of the hands of criminals.
It's more authoritarian than I know. I'm just hearing it.
Mm-hmm. It's another step on that ladder where they're just pushing infringements is all it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's
Well,
look
when
at
you're
this.
stupid enough to say that any gun, handgun, or rifle is should not be in existence because it has a magazine or it's semi-auto, that's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
think?
Because there's nothing wrong
It's
with a semi-auto, you know.
No, I mean, and there's bills out there right now. Matter of fact, the one Virginia almost got stuck with, their governor actually vetoed it. It basically would have banned any semi-automatic weapon, and it was a single feature test. So if it had a detachable magazine and had a threaded barrel, that's an assault weapon. If it could hold more than a certain number of rounds and it had a pistol grip, that's an assault weapon. So a lot of our carry guns, if they had threaded barrels, would have all been assault weapons under that bill and would have been illegal. It's just mind-numbingly ridiculous. But you know, your average person, they just have no idea about this stuff. Even your average gun owners, which it drives me insane.
I was at a gun store, mom and pop, a few years back, and a guy walks in about 30-something years old. And the first thing he says in the door when he walks up the counter is, "I don't care what nobody says, Democrats aren't trying to take your guns." And I looked at him and I says, "That's not correct." And everybody, the owners of the store looked at me, they didn't care. And I said, "No, they are. They want to. I don't know where you get that stuff at."
The Democrats, regardless of what party, even Republicans, but the Democrats party, if you look up their track record, they founded the KKK, they founded the Nazi Party of the Democratic Party, and the Communist Party of America. And who supported Jim Crow? The Democratic Party.
Yeah. I know they try to rewrite history.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's even failing.
It's funny that they're the one that did it, but yet they do the deflection saying, "Oh, the GOP is Jim Crow. Oh, the GOP is hate. Oh, the GOP is pro KKK." Well, what
like
about you all? You started it.
How about Hillary Clinton comparing Trump to Vladimir Putin? Like always, John Trump. Or what's that? His parent Donald J. Trump's gonna be killing people, and I'm like, the fuck you talking about, Hillary?
I think I've seen that.
Your average American is so absolutely uninformed and so ignorant that all they do is they believe the media narrative, and of course the media narrative is typically coming from the government, so they're just taking talking points from the government, pushing it out through the media, and your average person out there believes that shit. And they've got no idea the amount of dirty crap that the government's done, that the government's admitted to. And oh no, our government would never do that. Yeah, they would. Hell, they finally admitted after years and years that they actually put out chemicals during Prohibition that would be turned into poison alcohol and killed thousands of people, blinded thousands of people. Our government did that to their own citizens.
I read sometimes, and I don't know exactly is it true, but they say Charles Manson, the CIA, got a hold of him in prison with drugs in his early years. And they believe he bring now. That's who knows if it's true, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Cooper, you probably remember it more than I do. Who was the guy that San Francisco senator and in California got caught with selling illegal full-auto machine guns into some gangs?
Oh, dude, I'd have to look it up.
Yeah,
no, but there was a prohibition, and yet he was still selling illegal full-auto machine guns to some Asian gangs or some shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at our ATF. Look at Fast and Furious. I mean, they were literally telling gun stores, literally telling FFLs, you have to sell these guns to these people. And then when those guns got tracked down to a crime, they went after the FFL in one case that I know of. They were like, hey, you sold this gun to this criminal and it was using a crime. We're going after your FFL. And they literally said, you told us we had to do it. We didn't want to. You made us do this. But the ATF ain't about to admit the law, even though it's documented. That their operation under Fast and Furious, that they were actually going to these gun stores and making these gun stores sell guns to people that they knew were going to traffic them. And in some cases, hell, the ATF has opened up their own front stores to entrap people. It is so dirty. I don't see why people can't just even look at some of the big profile cases that have happened and actually realize that our government is more than willing to kill you. I mean,
oh yeah.
They can burn women and children in Waco to death.
Well,
they are more than willing.
If you look back, Coop, if you look back at the original origins of the FBI, they actually murdered John Dillinger.
Yeah,
they didn't even give him a chance to surrender. I mean, that was in the early days. They just blow him away. So basically, it was murder.
At the theater, right? The incident at the theater.
Yeah, they gunned him down. They had no, they didn't even try to get him to surrender. They put out basically a kill list. I mean, so that goes to show how bad they are. Even then,
what was it? The United States U.S. Marshals, when they did Bonnie and Clyde, he just said, "Fuck it, we're just going to kill them because we can't arrest these guys."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When you're in law enforcement, you don't have the right to just gun down people. Now, if they shoot at you, fucking rock and roll, defend yourself.
Yeah, and that's what he did. But they saw an arm being pulled in Bonnie and Clyde, and they had no other option. They gave him an option.
Look at this dude. Look at this guy in Arkansas that we covered, and we covered some more of this stuff last night. They go in and kick his door, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and end up killing the dude because he was selling firearms without a license. Now Jim Jordan, I read through the letter last night, Night Strike was on, and Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee are requesting all the information from that raid. So they want to know about the planning of the raid, who decided to do it.
Was that the quick? I hate to cut you off, but was it the one where Guns and Gadgets was covering where there's no body cam footage under plates? Was that the one?
Yeah, Malinowski. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Is it?
And see, there was I'll have to look up the exact order, but President Biden put out an executive order in like 20 said anytime there was a raid like this going on, that the federal agents were required to wear body cams.
Yep. And there was nothing on their plates.
Yeah, Legally Armed put out a video where he read through some stuff the other day. It was one of the supposed regulations where they could wear body cams, and in some situations they didn't have to wear body cams. But I'm pretty sure in the executive order it said they have to wear body cams.
Yep.
And that entire situation, they had this dude, they had dealt with him at a couple of gun shows, they had bought guns from him. Why not arrest him at the gun show? You have him right there in front of you. Wait till the next gun show, walk up to him, hey, we're the ATF, you're coming with us, we have questions. Why kick the dude's door in at 6 o'clock in the morning and get in a shootout?
All the things he was doing are all constitutionally protected activities, though. And that's the thing.
Yeah. It's been legal ever since before the founding of America. You can sell firearms without asking the government's permission.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're not a dealer or business.
And you look at the timing of it. So they do that, and then just a couple days later, really, then this new definition of in the business comes out. So they were basically making a statement right there, is what it was about. We're gonna show these people we will kick in your door. We're gonna come at you hard if you are selling firearms. That's what that whole thing was really about. And then we hit this rule where now they've redefined being in the business, because this dude was working for a large airport. The couple hundred guns or 150 guns that he sold over a couple year period weren't his primary source of income. And reading through his warrant, the crimes they say his guns he sold were involved in was people having weed on them. And then there was one gun, I think, that showed up in California that had been reported stolen, then showed up in California at probably a trap house from reading through that warrant. It wasn't like this dude was purposely out there just trunk open in the ghetto selling guns to, gangs and all that. It wasn't anything like that.
A few years ago, guys, me and my brother, I think it was during the Obama years, we were at a mom and pop gun store, shooting range, not far from me here, actually. And I'm kind of set in my ways. And this older gray guy looked at me and says, told my brother, says, we're not selling you a gun. And he said, because it could be a straw purchase. I looked at him right there in the front of the whole store. I said, let me tell you something, buddy. I said, I understand that. But I said, a family has been allowed for over 200 something years to buy guns for relatives. And there's nothing illegal about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy your son, your cousin, your uncle. And he says, I don't care. Fast forward, he died a few months later. And he was no longer there. And then I went in there a while back and had a cop working. I could tell he was a cop, apparently side job. And you talking about a rude, and I try to support cops to a point, even though I grew up disliking them because I don't trust them. A cop in there run his mouth to me behind the counter. I called the owner and complained. A week later, he was gone. I said, I walk in there, man, you cop act smart to me, you know. Yeah. And he was just a bully that day. Basically started, I was just pointing at a pistol. He starts running his mouth. And he knew I complained on him. I didn't care, you know.
Huh.
I had a cop here a few years ago, roommate over here across the street. I won't get too much into that. And he moved in over there. Well, we sat on the front porch or stand out there, right? Me and my roommates. He would crank his car 45 minutes, man, turn his headlights on and blast my front door for like an hour sometimes. Man, I got tired of it. Pretty soon I was going, hey, I'm fed up with them blasted lights over there. It's going to stop one way or another. After him hearing me fuss a few times, he finally stopped. And he would walk around the neighborhood and run, and he'd walk by me. I used to walk the neighborhood a lot. And I'd say, hey, man, he would not even look at me. Yeah, like I didn't exist.
Well, dude, there are a lot of officers that you give them a badge, you give them cuffs, you give them a gun, all of a sudden they're the authority on everything.
Yeah.
And it kills me because for me, if you're going to be out there enforcing a so-called law, you should be a damn professor when it comes to the constitutionality on things.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a lot of cases, cops are one of the first lines of really defense for our rights. Because a lot of these cops should be looking at these lawmakers or so-called lawmakers and tell them, no, we're not doing it. We're not enforcing that against the American people. It's unconstitutional. We're not doing it. And that would stop a lot of this. But what do they tell you? They arrest you. Well, it's the law. And, you get to go to court. You get to try to fight this. You get your life destroyed. That cop doesn't give a shit. He's getting his paycheck.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It's they use that excuse. Oh, well, he's doing his job. He's got to feed his family and his kids. Like, man, pick another, like a million other jobs out there. I would respect you more if you flipped burgers at McDonald's than what you're doing to other people right now. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work at the Nuremberg trials. It shouldn't work now. That's all I'm saying.
It's definite, man. When police are and when they enforce, which getting into the whole ball of wax, if I write an unconstitutional law and I submit that to a legislature, when that legislature looks at it and says, nope, that's unconstitutional, I should lose my goddamn job. If the legislature passes an unconstitutional law, anybody involved in passing that law should lose their damn job. Anybody who enforces that law should be thrown in damn prison for the amount of time that they threw people in prison for. And then the state should ultimately have to compensate anybody who was jailed, lost jobs, lost livelihoods or lives because of that unconstitutional law. Right? That's the way it should work.
Also, Coop, you ever seen sheriffs go ballistic on cops if they're going out through the wrong county?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I have seen some stuff like that.
Well, like this guy, he literally stopped another dude crossing into the county out of the city. And the sheriff's asking the guy that did the violation and says, hey, was he in that county or in this county? This county. All right, that's all I need to hear. And he goes absolutely apeshit ballistic saying, hey, get the fuck out of here or I'm going to go try your ass right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have more respect for a sheriff than your average day cop.
Yeah. Well, your sheriffs typically the
Yeah.
sheriffs themselves are elected
Mhm.
by the people, and typically, your people have a bit more connection with a sheriff than they do, say, your average PD or something like that. Typically, now it doesn't mean all sheriffs are great. Some of the sheriffs, like some of our sheriffs over here in Alabama, were complete shitheads. When it came around for trying to pass constitutional carry, they were more worried about getting the fees from the permit process to fuel all of their operations than they were about people being able to defend themselves. And it goes back to any cop that's arrested somebody just merely because they had a gun on them. That cop should be the one going to jail. You're
But
enforcing unconstitutional law,
on that same token, though,
or you're
Coop,
enforcing
the
this.
sheriff,
Years ago, Coop, guys, and I think it was in the 80s, so it's quite a few years ago. My brother bought one of those Taurus 9mm semi-auto, and he goes to Alabama a lot. We got a lot of relatives down there. My grandmother was born and raised in Piedmont. My mother was, I think, born in Piedmont. Yeah. And he's cruising down. I could be wrong. I think it's Albertville, but I could be wrong. But he was cruising through town. A local cop pulled him over. You know what the cop told him? He told my brother, he said, next time you come through my town, I want you to come by and hand that gun over to my police department. My brother said, I don't think so. And he got the gun back and drove off. And I told my brother, I said, ain't no way I'd obey that crap, And the one thing I will say about Alabama, though, in the 70s, I would go there and they would wave at me. I come back to Georgia and Gwinnett County, you pull out on Beaufort Highway back when I grew up there. Gwinnett County cops would give you mean looks like you were a criminal, wouldn't wave at you or nothing. So Alabama, back even decades ago, they were friendly. They're the same way in this county here now in Georgia, which surprises me. But I never had good luck with Gwinnett County. I had a lot of conflicts with Gwinnett County growing up. Either run their mouth or whatever.
It's been a while since I've been up around Gwinnett. I said, this has been a while since I've been up around Gwinnett. I used to run all the way up through Gwinnett, Roswell, all kinds of places up around your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I go to Roswell occasionally.
I just wanted to get this out real quick, and then I gotta dip. I gotta give this weed whacker another try. But I would say that the sheriffs that are imposing things like permits and all that are also doing the wrong thing. I mean, that's basically asking your local sheriff for permission to carry. No one's supposed to have to ask permission to anybody. And the sheriff around here, the former sheriff, he's not the sheriff now. I mean, the one we got now is corrupt, but regardless, he used to exchange illegal guns and cash and drugs and all types of shit on these back roads. And I live on these fucking back roads. I've seen some shit out here. These sheriffs are corrupt as they come. So it's not even like like Coop said, man, they're more worried about the fucking funding and shit. And it's just,
that was the biggest argument from a lot of these sheriffs. Was besides, it's going to somehow stop a criminal from getting a gun, which is horse shit. No criminal ever in the history of criminals ever went to walk out of his house with a gun and went, oh shit, I can't do that. I don't have a permit, and left his gun at the house. It's never happened. So their arguments were, well, we're going to lose millions of dollars. I don't care. I don't. Russell County, the county I live in, little ass small county, has a freaking MRAP. Now I realize they get that through government kind of lend programs and shit like that. But seriously, I'm pretty damn sure this little department for their SWAT team has things like MP5s. Give me a break, guys. It's at some point just admit, yes, there are bad people out there, but how about you leave the rest of us alone?
Well, they're a militarized force now.
Yeah, well, if our government, or if our laws would actually allow us to take violent people and keep them in prison and then leave everybody else the hell alone, then these cops wouldn't need all that shit.
Or how about not having corruption to begin with when they have a responsibility to call it out and can stop it right there?
Yeah, got a fellow brother here, 500 Magnum. He's in Georgia. Good to see you, man.
Oh yeah, 500. What's going on, brother?
Didn't know that.
No, but no, Coop,
I didn't see
why,
Eagle Run come in. What's up, Eagle?
Yeah, but
Good to
Coop,
see
you
you,
know
Eagle.
why corruption happens, right?
Yeah, it happens because people are typically corrupt.
Well, no, it's because they don't bat an eye and actually stomp it out from the get-go.
True, because a good person is not corrupt.
Resist
you're
the first approaches of tyranny.
Your average person, okay, wants to live a peaceful life. They don't want to negatively affect anybody else. I mean, but you get people who are all about power and all about control, and those are the people that get the positions of power that gives them the control. It's completely ass backwards than the way it should be.
Power corrupts, absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Already technically corrupted people are attracted to power. Power attracts these types of people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And with that, guys, I'm gonna say good day. I'll listen in here and there, but I'm gonna get back to
Sam.
taking care of this yard work. So,
well, take care of your
nice
yard
to
work,
meet
brother.
you, sir. Good to talk to you.
Good to meet you, Sam.
I got another minute or two.
Yeah, man.
Enough time to drink a little bit more coffee, and then I got to bounce and get ready for work.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah.
You too.
All right, take it easy, Sam.
Yeah, our founders knew that power corrupts, even way back when.
Yeah, well, it's we talked about it some kind of at the start of the stream when we were waiting on Tennessee to start their stuff up. Even our founders is as good ideas as they had and as good of intentions as they had. The ink wasn't dry on the Constitution before even some of our founders started breaking the Constitution. And it's it doesn't destroy the ideals that they had, but you have to realize that none of them were perfect. However, if we get back to the original ideals, then we'd be in a lot better shape.
Yep.
But hell, these days, the way things have gone, your average person knows nothing about constitutional rights or limitations on government.
No.
They want government to solve everything for them. Government's going to keep me safe. Government's providing for me. They want the government to solve all their issues, and it's just not the way it works. It's not the way it should work.
Yeah, it's true. I used to listen to Neil Bortz. A lot of people don't like him, but he says things well. He talks about the chart trending and where you look back when government started people vote. I won't say who voters started seeking security.
Yes,
and that's all I'll say. And,
Bortz was. I started listening to him, so it was early 2000s, maybe 99, early 2000s. Because I was all the time back and forth to Atlanta working for a company and started listening to Bortz. And matter of fact, I still remember when what's his name, Royal died, Royal Marshall.
Yeah.
I remember when the announcement came where Royal had passed away from a widowmaker heart.
Yeah,
and that was heartbreaking. But yeah, I used to listen to the Bortz band. Yeah, hard.
And he's still on, Coop. He has he's not on the radio. Well, he is back on the radio, I think, for short periods now, and on the internet. So he
I knew he had a podcast that I hadn't followed in a while.
Yeah, I don't know if he still does the podcast, but I know he's definitely doing shows now, little mini shows, more or less.
I mean, I have to look him up, man. I mean, I miss Bortz. I haven't listened to him in years. But yeah, he was an exceptionally smart dude, and he wasn't one of these, the conservative Rush Limbaugh types. He was basically libertarian in a lot of his views, and he was straight down the middle about stuff. If something wasn't constitutional, it wasn't constitutional. If it wasn't right, it wasn't right. When the Patriot Act came along, you had a bunch of people jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, this is for safety. Bortz was one of those going, oh, hell no, don't do it.
Yeah.
And of course, people ignored the shit out of him.
I used to listen to Rush a lot, but in the later years, I felt like Rush sold himself out. That's all I'll say. Bortz, he would call both parties out. He didn't care. It didn't matter who it was.
Yeah, that's why I liked him. Matter of fact, the first time I heard him, he was talking about some Republicans, and I almost thought, who the hell is this dude? And then I caught the whole conversation, was like, oh shit, okay, I can dig with this guy. Because he was right about it. But that first 5 minutes, it was like, damn, he's just trashing the shit out of Republicans. And then it was like, no, well, he's right.
There's times in the 90s, a time or two, at least I know once I got mad at him, didn't want to listen to him for a while. And that's why he said he would never talk about God. He at least try to not talk about abortion, certain issues. And
yeah,
like that. But I think he did eventually get where he didn't talk about that stuff. In the 90s, he'd occasionally bring it up, stuff like that.
I just remember, man, especially after listening to him, I think after about the first 2 weeks I started listening to him, where I really caught on to his ideals and stuff, I was like, man, this guy is spot on. Because it was all about keeping the government small, keeping the government out of your life. And, the government doesn't need all these extra powers. They have, that's why we have a constitution, to limit that kind of stuff. He's also the one, before the Olympics came to Atlanta, he was running commercials in Spanish in Atlanta saying that Mexico wouldn't win any of the Olympic Games because everybody that could run, jump, or swim was already in America. It was just, yeah, you had to love the dude's sense of humor. Do you remember him doing the skit about Boo Got Shot?
No, I don't think so.
Oh God, I know there's no way I could find it, but it was hysterical. Matter of fact, he did two versions of it. He did one to where he was explaining the story of Boo Got Shot, and you could hear the people talking. And he did the other one with Royal Marshall. There, a lot of people didn't realize Royal was black, and Royal Marshall explained it in Ebonics, and it was just hysterical.
I seen him years back. He was out in public somewhere. It's on YouTube, and Alex Jones approaches him. Bortz, he has a few things to say. He said, "Come on my show. You won't pull that crap, shit." So he told, whether you like Alex Jones or not, but he told Alex Jones, "You won't pull that crap on my show. Come in there and run your mouth."
No.
Now, even though he was blunt, Bortz was.
Yeah, no, Bortz didn't play the radio on stuff. He was very straightforward.
Yeah.
And he wasn't one that like over exaggerated a lot of things. He never blew the lines out, the proportions out. It was very measured. It's been a long time since I listened to him, but he was very measured with what he did. And there were times where he'd tell you he agreed with Rush, and there are times where he'd tell you Rush was being stupid. And for anybody on the radio to really pick on Rush at the time, man, that was, you were fighting outside your weight class. But Bortz was right there.
Yeah, I used to watch Rush's old show through my brother's C-band when it was on television years ago. We're talking the 90s.
Mid-90s.
We'd come in late, and he'd be on a show and sell his ties, real colorful ties.
Yep.
Rush would.
Yeah,
later years, I got where I didn't listen to him much. Later years.
No, there was a long time where I might listen to him for a minute or two, and then I was done because he became such an establishment Republican in a lot of ways where I couldn't do it because you could see what was going on. And there were a lot of times where Rush would try to explain stuff where he was just basically trying to go through the trying to justify something basically. And it was like, no, there's no way to justify this crap. Like the Patriot Act. There was no way to justify that when you got down to the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah.
And now here it is, we're going through another FISA reauthorization now. We're approving it.
Even though it's been abused and they know it, Congress does.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of times.
Yeah.
It's nothing but a domestic spy program. And they'll constantly sell it. Even who was it? Dan Crenshaw. I heard a little bit of him talking in one of the hearings, or maybe just on the House floor, where he was justifying it. And no, we don't need this warrant requirement. It'll slow things down. And it was like, no, dude. You had your chance for a little bit when you first went to Congress. You got some cred because Navy SEAL served and all that. But when you got there and you just prove you're nothing but a statist,
Yeah.
your opinion means zero to me anymore at all.
Yeah, me too.
You're no different than the Democrats up there.
Mhm.
And it's funny to see someone like a Jerry Nadler actually agree with Massey on the spying. Now I know why Nadler wants to do it. Nadler wants to protect Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all that. But I really don't care whether they're protected. I care more about your average person out here and not having their lives just completely searchable. And it all is. Everything we do. If it's electronic, we're being monitored.
Mm-hmm. I was a big, in 2000, I was a big, I donated money. I used to donate money to RNC in the late 90s, 2000. Years later, Bush come up with the DHS. I said, no way. And then he comes up with the federalizing of the airport. I said, no way. My gosh, it never ends. And all of a sudden, I kind of just turned against him. And you look back at it, it was genius. That word, compassionate conservative, that was even Clinton said it was really smart because he was able to say, I'm a conservative, but I'm a compassionate one. In other words, I'm a liberal conservative in a lot of ways and moderate, And there's a lot of things he did there I don't agree with. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
To this day.
I remember, hell, flying back from Germany in 92 or 93. And I was a young teenager at the time, but I had a blade in my bag, I had a lighter in my bag, I had smokes in my bag. God knows what all else. I had it just in my carry-on. I remember I had a chance and I should have done it. I had a set of Smith & Wesson handcuffs, and I was sitting there in the airport before we got on the plane messing with them, picking them and just playing, just teenager shit. And one of the Politz eyes walked by, and he could speak a little bit of English. He wanted me to trade. He wanted to trade his cuffs, his police issue cuffs, for mine, and I wouldn't do it, and I should have, just to have his issue cuffs. I should have done it. But that's how smooth things were back then. These days, that would freak out the entire damn world. Oh no, you got this nail file on you.
Yeah.
So what? I got the last time I flew anywhere. Where are we going? Maybe up to Ohio, to the Lincoln School, and I was wearing carpenter pants, and you got to take your boots off and all the other crazy shit belt off. When the side pocket of my cargo pants, I forgot my cigarettes and lighter were there. And went through the whole body screening. And then this one TSA agent, blonde chick, was giving me 9 kinds of hell, just fucking being rude. Matter of fact, my boss kind of pulled me to the side and was like, look, dude, just, take it easy. We got things to do. But it was fixing to be you can take your screening and shove it right in your ass, lady. Because the dumber and dumber it gets. Now you've got, like I said, you about got to go through a strip search before you get on an airplane.
Yeah. And, you think they would learn to know that growing government is not the answer to things. That the bigger the government gets, the less freedom we have. But Bush apparently didn't know it. I look at the Bushes though. You got to remember George H. ran against Ronald Reagan, called him voodoo economics, you name it. And he come along, he says, well, can you support my agenda? And Bush says, oh, yeah, of course. But then when he got elected, he still was the moderate he always was. And Bush, George H. was a moderate and liberal in some ways. And it's just the way it was. And,
any time you've got these guys, for the most part, that end up getting into the government, they've typically, in a lot of cases, come from situations where they are absolutely disconnected from your average person. It was hysterical one time. They were trying to make Hillary look like more down to earth. She couldn't even use a debit card.
Wow.
She literally couldn't use a debit card.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are the rulers. They don't care. And we continue, giving these people that power. And You know, I seriously think this next election is going to be more screwed than 2020 was.
I do too.
I think
It's gonna be a mess. I agree,
I
Bob.
believe so.
Theater for
Yeah, by
security for all.
100%. And that's what it is.
That was
Hell,
to
there
give.
was a story a couple years ago, Hartsfield Jackson Airport. Their screeners and stuff. I can't remember, maybe been about 5 years ago now. They didn't even have the fucking screening machines plugged in, and it cycled hundreds of people through there.
Wow.
And come to find out, oh shit, we didn't even have the equipment plugged in. That's how worthless these people are.
Jeez.
And I think a couple people got caught at another point with some firearms on planes. And it was like, well, how'd they get them on planes? Well, because the screening equipment wasn't even plugged in. And they had cycled hundreds of people through there. Because if you've ever been through Hartsfield Jackson is a nightmare. There's thousands and thousands of people in that place.
I've heard of it. I never been there.
It's
I am very familiar with Maynard Jackson, though, believe it or not, way back before probably some of you all were born. And
old Maynard, yeah.
I could tell you a story. Maynard Jackson had a brother, and he was I don't know if I ever told this story. I think I did it in one live, and he was an MD. And he used to get people in Atlanta in his office and hand out I can't remember, in 77, I think, and hand out amphetamine scripts. Legally.
I see that going down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, people don't realize, amphetamines were big back then, but just being prescribed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Johnny Cash. That's where Johnny Cash got a lot of his habit from.
Yeah, and they were normal
he was
too.
Prescribed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told my son that years ago. I said, you got to realize, I said, amphetamines in the 60s, 70s, especially 60s, 50s too. I said, they were given to housewives that was depressed, slow, tired, overweight. I mean, you name it. They would give them, doctor would give it to you. And the next thing you know, a lot of people start having heart attacks and dying.
Well, it goes to show you what happens, though, when something like that, it's kind of like with painkillers. So, it would used to be easy to get a prescription for them.
Mm-hmm.
Then the government started to say, well, all these people are having problems with them. Now they're being sold illegally. So we're going to get into it. And you went from someone getting Percocet to someone getting fentanyl. They made the issue 100 times worse. They did the same thing with amphetamines. I mean, they got rid of a lot of amphetamines back in the day, all the way up into like late 70s, maybe early 80s. And then you end up with methamphetamine exploding.
Yep.
So anything the government touches, they will turn it to crap.
Yeah, they will.
But anyway, AR, let me get out of here.
I
got to get out of here. I got to get ready for work. All you guys that shut up the chat, man. Love you guys as always. You perps keep that thing on you at all times. AR, thanks for showing up, brother. It's always good hanging out.
Oh, good to be with you, man. Good to see Side Chat. You have a great day. Cool.
Yes, sir, man. You guys take it easy. We'll catch you sometime later on tonight. Later, guys. Have a good day.